They still gotta play us. Let's go, baby. Woo!
Hey, don't run that ball on the one hover, showed you how that go down. Feeling like Santino, tell him we want all the smoke now. We ain't snooping that commercial, we don't put no smoke down. Plus we back and you can't hide, so it ain't nowhere safe to go now. We always gon' turn up in that jungle every time. How we ain't gon' win when we loaded in with 9? Plus T just came in signed, so the city gon' be fine. Jamar say he open every time and he ain't never lied. Look at how we win at it, the size of the old line. Giving Burrow extra time should be a federal crime. Hey, we right back on that path again. Put the division back to the test, they won't pass again. Orlando and Trent Brown, that's the Tower Twins. Feel like we only getting better as we stacking wins.
And we stacking.
Jaceki in for 6, that's a gritty again. AFC North battles getting gritty again. It's Yoshi second year, we just brought Burton in. Vaughn back to ring some bells, get the cracking again.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman. We are live here at the Moerlein Lager House. We have an absolute packed room. That's a complete lie. There's a couple people here, but hey, we got plenty of room. Come on down. Happy hour started now. It goes till 9 o'clock. We'll be here from 6 to 8. And after you do that, I got a great idea. Why don't you guys head out to Midwest Best Barbecue and Creamer. Get you some CTB wings, some Uno wings. You can get some Billionaire wings, you know, a Ring of Honor guy, Corey Dillon. No, they're delicious. CTB wings are delicious. They're not burnt. They're delicious. Go out there to Midwest Best. Go Tim and Nicole Ice. Also, the show is brought to you by Meyer Windows and Doors. Check them out at www.myerswebsite.com for all your window and door needs. I got it in my house. I highly recommend you give me yours. And if you guys look for a good place other than the Moerlein House to watch the postseason, go check out Hail Mary's. Right at Heart Distribute. It's your ticket to the game. Big ass TV screen, free parking, beer specials, food trucks, and an awesome atmosphere. Again, that's Hail Mary's, your ticket to the game. What is up there, everybody in the chat? Who we got there first? Let me roll back up here. We got Brad's in there, Paul's in there, Lakey Pie, Dalton, Tony Blaze, and yeah, sorry, I didn't get the alarm off. Dalton Stone, what is going on? That was my fault. I'll try to get the alarm off next time. Anyway, we had one of the Cincinnati icons pass away yesterday. Peter Edward Rose. Not you, Joe. He's not even on the show yet. So we're gonna give you some of your best Pete Rose stories, and we got Richard Skinner join us here in a little bit. Let's bring in the East Side boy, Joe Schmo. What's going on, Joe?
We got a Bengals win to talk about today, which is a welcome change.
Yes.
First time since January.
They won.
I know.
I'm not sure how I'm supposed to handle that, but you know, it's a good thing. So we got that. We got Pete Rose. We got the Bengals. We got what are the Reds going to do with their Reds manager? For all that and more, the guy who knows He's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on. And he's playing hurt with 2 broken elbows. So let's give it up for Richard Skinner.
I'm hanging in there. I'm doing fine. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, I've got a brace on each arm. So just full disclosure, really did in Charlotte on Saturday night. Only 2 years ago, I had a golf I was at. Those that know me on a Saturday night on the road, it's usually something beer related, alcohol related. It's not. I'm walking down the street and these pretty trees are planted along the sidewalk. I stepped to the side, let a guy walk by. I kept walking, and those trees had grace around them. The green was raised, tripped over it, down I went, caught myself. Fortunately, it was tough weekend. I come to the game on Sunday with this pain. Wrote a game story, the podcast, did an interview after the game, did a column, and then drove back on Monday went to Ortho Cincinnati, and he disclosed that I had to practice. The good part was they will heal on their own. I don't need surgery, and I took a big sigh of relief with that.
Well, I'm glad you made it because that was a hell of a trip just to get to Charlotte. I think let alone back with an injury going on here. So, all right, let's get into the Bengals team here. So, I think I'm very confident in the offense. I think the offense is going in the right direction. I think they're going to just keep getting better. I'm not so confident with defense. There's a chance the Hill can come back, Miles Murray can come back, maybe the rookie. Excuse me. If we get those guys back, how confident are you that the Bengals can actually stop the Ravens?
It's a legitimate question because when B.J. Hill and Sheldon Rankins played the first 2 games, granted, one was against a pedestrian New England offense. The defense played well. They played well against New England. They played well against Patrick Mahomes and that game. So I have a little bit of confidence that they're healthy, that they're at least capable. Without those 2 guys, Zach Carter, I'm sure you guys saw the advanced metrics on what he's done since he's been in. He's last of all defensive linemen. Thank you. A big fat zero is driving. He's 115, 113 pass rush win rate. Do that again, Joe. How many pass rushes 2 weeks we have? Thank you. Exactly. Zero. And that's a fact. You can't discount it. Listen, they've started 2 tackles in the last 2 games. It's not an excuse. It's a fact. Zach Carter, Jake Fraley, everybody was on that interior defensive line. This is where they would be on game day. They had to act with. You got to play what you got to play with, and they have. I think Fraley's done okay. Still does okay. Still on. He'll make a play now and again. Let me just tell you this: Chris Jenkins, if he continues to evolve, has a chance to be a real dude.
Imagine if he has 2 hands, too.
Yeah, that would help even more.
Yeah. That goal line stop was all Chris Jenkins.
Yeah.
That was
no doubt.
And now, if they don't make that stop, that game is completely different.
I think it is too, because I'll let you get started, but that would have been going back to the Kansas City game. 7 straight possessions the opponent had, other than 2 knees that Washington took, in which I feel like it would have been 8 straight possessions, in which the opponent scored points. Field goal Kansas City, all the scoring that Washington did, and in that first drive. And I think that also did set the tone of you're not playing from behind, you're not playing catch up. Oh my God, the team just drove down the field on us. And again, they had their moments, right? They had a ton of great moments, but to me, that was a huge stop.
Well, and a lot of that, like, they've now forced 2 punts in, 3 games?
3 games.
And that's, I guess technically 3 punt formations because they went the
yes, correct. Yeah, because they went
the big punt. But you're talking about B.J. Hill, talking about Sheldon Rankins. I know B.J. Hill seems to be close to coming back to it with them having the open spot. Is it an expected or a possibility? I know he went through workouts and everything before the game on Sunday. Do we think he's going to be back for this Sunday against the Ravens?
Bosmer or
B.J. B.J.
Yeah, I think BJ will be. But forget they technically do have a roster spot open for bringing Brad Robbins, cutting Brad Robbins, probably tomorrow we'll see the next move of Brad Robbins practice squad. 3-8 thing. I took that and maybe something procedurally because Brad Robbins coming off IR. I think it means one of the 2 guys on IR, McKinley Jackson or Miles Murray, maybe both, probably more Miles, is up. And that's another problem with the rotation because that's not been a great.
Yeah, there's nothing coming off the other side. It's Trey.
Yeah, right. It looks like Trey. It looks like he should be able to play Sunday. I mean, it's Tuesday. We don't know yet, but he's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I think at least the good sign with no nerve damage. I mean, singers are a heck of a thing. They scare the crap out of everyone. The reaction from the coaches. I mean, the coaches sitting there talking, guys taking a knee around him. That was really scary to watch, man. It was like, this is really, really bad. And, you know, a singer literally can paralyze guys for a short period of time. Right. And that's what you're scared of. You know, something really, really serious. I'll give Trey this. If Trey can play, Trey's going to play.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so what? So you talked about this, and then me and Joe talked about this. And the biggest problem with the defense has been the interior line. The four guys that they counted on to play, we haven't had them in one single game together. Will they make a big difference? I don't personally, because I haven't seen them all play.
They'll make at least a difference.
Right. It can't get worse from what they had.
Okay.
Let's say you're literally getting nothing. I mean, J2 Fairley can flash and make. He makes a couple plays a game. Zach Carter is literally just a warm body. I mean,
At best.
Yeah, exactly. I can't confirm his, but yeah, it's at least BJ Hill, Sheldon Rankins. You have guys that have film, guys that have a back of football kind of stats. You know, that there is production there and there's something there. Caleb Jackson, I like that guy. I think he's got a chance. I don't know how much it's going to be this year. Sign disruption. More guys to add. Keep guys fresh. I mean, you got Jake Bailey playing way too many snaps anyway.
He shouldn't be the innocent.
Exactly. He's playing blind share of snaps.
I do this on your podcast, Ice, and I know I talk to Tony Pike. This is the offseason of his show on 5360. I thought that defensive line had a shot to be a string to your point. You had a chance to almost have 2-platoon rotation. Right. I mean, Bowser and Joseph Osai. Now, Joseph Osai hasn't played very well, but again, on paper, coming into the season and offseason, those guys spelling Trey and Sam Moore, keep them fresh, get them into games. On the interior, a 4-man rotation almost, with the veterans getting 65% of the snaps, could get 30 to 35% of the snaps. And it looked like it was a perfect scenario. And then one by one, down to J2 Fairley and Zach Carter had to play defensive tackle for you. So I think there's a reason for the last couple of weeks. We'll get to the secondary, I'm sure, at some point. That's been a factor, obviously, with Cam the last handful of weeks. But I do think it really starts with interior tackles and just have the guys that they need to have. And it's cost them the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, especially that's scary about going against the Rat Hearts. I mean, King Henry is awesome.
It's great.
It was wide open, and they gashed them. So to me, that's the part that is scary. Don't get me wrong. I think Baltimore defense is really good. I think our offense can score and to win this game. And to me, it's can our defense stop them enough to keep us in this game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And the way this offense is playing, and we'll get to them obviously a little bit more in detail in a little bit. The way this offense is playing, all you need is the defense to either get a turnover, a stop, and not much more. And honestly, on Sunday, a little bit more than that, right? But they got a turnover, which was the Von Bell interception return on Trey's play, and they got a huge stop at the goal line, and that kind of was the difference. They forced a couple other punts to do one stop, fake one. They didn't score on a couple of those, but it allowed you to at least have some breathing room. I mean, you shouldn't have to score 40 points every week to go win games. And it felt like it's trending in that direction. And I mean, you're not scoring 40 on certain defenses, and probably not on Baltimore's defense.
Right, and that's the problem. The Panthers, we all know Andy Dalton. When Andy Dalton is moving up and down the field, how many drop passes do the Panthers have? Like, they have a lot with Liggett had a couple drop passes. Frank
said, well, they had to break it. I think the one pass was,
But there were several drop passes, and you can't rely on your team to screw up to be able to come up with a hold or stop.
I mean, you're allowed to get a 3-and-out in this league every once in a
That would be nice. So let's discuss one guy that I love and I think is played good until the last 2 games. Taylor Britt. What do you think is going on with him?
I think it's a little bit of eye discipline. I think it's a little bit of technique. You can see in this last game, he really couldn't jam Deontay Johnson whatsoever. And it looked like it was completely technique related. I think he's tried to bait guys at times, bait quarterbacks. And you saw in the one where he made the great interception, although it was wiped out because he got called for a holding penalty. It was a great athletic play. He's a real good athlete. He's athletic as all get out. And I think he's at that stage where, if this guy gets by me, that's fine. I'll catch up athletically. I'll bait you into this interception. Well, you know what? You're not always going to bait a guy into an interception. And I also equate it to kind of baseball, right? And I think corners go through this probably more than any position group in the league. For some reason, occasionally they go through slumps. And, maybe Cam's in the slump. That's kind of, for the reason of, hey, I'm looking to make the big play rather than jam the guy, rather than cover the guy, rather than not throw that guy's way. I'm going to figure out a way to, I'm going to beat you to throw because I'm good enough to go seal it. And to me, I think that's fixable. And I think he'll snap out of it, but I also think you can't have him play a lot of snaps. He's not going to play well.
And a lot of the problem is they're still not getting really good help from the safety at the top. So when you're getting safety, I'm not listening to you to see if it's just rotating late or getting a late break or not getting enough depth. But the problems that we had last year with the safeties not being where they need to be, it still seems to be pulling up. And when you're getting beat off the line, obviously there's no one there to save, they're boom 40-yard pass over your head.
Yeah, no, right. I don't know if I fault Geno Stone for one of the early ones. I think he came over late. He was in the picture late just because he saw it, but I don't think that was his responsibility. To be honest with you, I think sometimes they want to put Cam on that island. Even if the safeties are playing some zone help inside, they want to play a little bit of man on the outside and let Cam take care of business. And I thought he was trending in the direction of clear shutdown number one. And I do think he can get back to that. Because if you saw him trending in that way, it's still there. To your point, I don't think it's injury related. Nobody has said it. He's not showed up on a report, any of those things. I just think he's hit for whatever reason a little bit of a slump. Yeah.
And that's what me and Joe were just talking about because last year until he got hurt, I think he was going to make Pro Bowl, at least Pro Bowl, maybe All Pro. He was playing great last year until he got injured, and he looked great against the Chiefs. I know he got beat on that one, the Chiefs, but he damn near caught back up to the guy and knocked it away. Yeah. So he can do it. Another one that I am very pleasantly surprised with, Yumi talked about in preseason, is Dax Hill. How he might be the best cover corner we got right now.
He's just been solid. I mean, you haven't noticed him, and that's a great thing, right? We've noticed, unfortunately, Cam Taylor-Britt in good ways. We've noticed Cam Taylor-Britt in bad ways. And so it's nice to be noticed in the good ways, but you're getting noticed more now in the bad ways. You haven't noticed Dax a lot. That opening game against New England, he obviously was noticed because he missed a couple of big tackles in space that allowed them to get a couple of big runs. But the tackling for him is never an issue. He's always been a really good tackler. He just happened to miss a couple of tackles in a bad spot. So, I think he's trending in a great direction. And I think the other positive from Sunday was, and I got to give the kid a lot of credit, DJ Turner kind of hit the rookie wall as last year progressed.
He was fantastic when he first got in the lineup or getting the rotation.
Especially for a guy coming from playing all the way to a national championship, going to the combine. The draft's right around the corner. Then comes the mini camp stuff, and it's just a lot. And I don't think people really fully can understand that. But players do hit walls. But then he gets legit beat out by Dax Hill. You can only play so many guys at once, and hasn't played a ton of snaps. Didn't play, I think, only two snaps the game before, but kept himself ready. And then when they asked him to play in relief of Cam Taylor-Britt this last game, kid came in and played great.
I like that. Now that brings me to the other second-year player that we're all kind of wondering why he hasn't been getting any snaps is Battle. I love Von Bell. I know Lou loves Von Bell. I think Lou loves Von Bell more than he probably should. And he might need to try to give Battle some snaps here. Now, he did come out and say that Battle, I guess, didn't start off good in training camp or whatever, and he's gotten better, so maybe he might get some snaps this week.
I think everybody's tap danced around this. Lou talked to writers yesterday. I don't want to give away too much. I will just say this. Jordan still needs to figure out how to be a pro.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. What was it?
I'm going to soft shoe that, and you guys can take that for what it's worth. I think you know what that all means.
Yep.
And I think that was the multiple hope of Von Bell coming in here was him making sure everybody was lined up right.
Right.
And
yes.
again, that sounds so simplistic, and it's
but
just
that's
not.
But
they're
right.
I mean, proof of concept.
That he had enough left in the tank to give you something for a portion of this season. I don't think they even expected him to give them everything for 17 games. And then eventually Jordan Battle will look and go, okay, that's what a pro looks like. That's what a pro does. That's how a pro prepares himself. That's how a pro gets ready physically. That's how a pro gets ready mentally. And then Jordan is athletic enough when given the opportunity to step in. I think you'll see eventually Jordan do that. If he doesn't, I'll be honest, it won't be on the coaching staff. It really won't be. It'll be on Jordan. And I just don't – I think he's got enough in him to make it work.
And Von Bell is the guy to learn that from.
No question. I mean, last year, he's playing behind Nick Scott, who came in as a free agent. And
by the way, Nick Scott looked great on Sunday.
I'll tell you what, there was no one you would rather have on that swing pass to try to make that tackle if you're a Bengals fan on Zach Moss than him staring down the barrel of Nick Scott. You go, oh, I'm good. And that's why, Joe, why'd you throw there? Truthfully, Nick Scott was going to come downhill. That's why I said no. We're good. No, and so, Jordan probably didn't understand what it took. And that's not a knock on either Nick Scott or Dax Hill. They were dealing with their own issues last season. But when you see the things that Von does to prepare himself, I don't think he has to be there. He has to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning like Von is. Von beats to his own drummer. Right. But the preparedness, physically, mentally, all of those things, I think that's a great learning curve for him.
Right.
I'm kind of moving back to the defensive line, and his name's been brought up before, and I guess he's dealing with an injury. What do you do with Sam Hubbard?
It's a great question.
Sorry, I'm going to cut off. Like, to me, and this was kind of always the thing, it's paying a premium price, or maybe not a premium price, but paying a high price for a good, not great player. Everyone loves Sam. Of course, here in Cincinnati, we love our hometown guys, but he's never been a difference maker coming off the edge. He's great run stopper, but those guys seem, I don't want to say replaceable, but you can more easily find someone off the edge that can stop the run than someone that can rush the passer. Are we just going to deal with, it's not like they're not going to give him reps. He's making $11-some-odd million. Yeah. He's healthy enough to be on the field. Are we just going to have to deal with another goose egg on the left end? And why don't they switch guys around? Why don't they move Trey around the defensive line? That's what the other.
Yeah, I talked to Sam last week, and I tried to give him the curveball or the softball of are you dealing with something? Because we talked to Lou last week, and Lou, the last question was asked of what was the injury at the end of training camp, and Lou said hamstring. And we all kind of looked at each other like, is that did he really mean hamstring? Because he got up and kind of walked out of the room. We all kind of looked at each other like, no, it was the knee.
That was a mic drop moment for him.
And so, it was all of a sudden, okay, so it's a hamstring. So then Baby went up to Sam in the locker room because everybody else was in with Joe Burrow, and I said, I got to get some stuff from Sam. And, talk about how you feeling, blah, blah, blah. I said, are you doing any injuries? I said, I just don't want to talk about injuries. So I do think, and Zach even said in his press conference, I asked him about Sam too. He said, he's getting better week to week. And so that made me lead to believe that he's playing hurt, but that the improvement can come because, again, he's getting better week to week as he's further away from that hamstring injury. And I think if he gets to whatever percent, if he gets to 100%, I think you have the Sam Hubbard that is going to get you your 7 to 8 sacks, going to set the edge on the run. I'll give him this. If dude is playing that hurt, give him a ton of credit because they ain't got much else right now at the moment.
He played nose tackle.
And then he plays exactly the point. And then he goes in and plays nose tackle some, and that tells you what you need to know about Sam Hubbard. Your question is a legit one. In a perfect world, I think, if Miles Murphy had started the season off and Sam was really playing hurt, you'd have seen far less snaps.
Yes,
for Sam.
And a stand-up guy for not using injuries, as an excuse, but it's you can tell, there's just no juice.
No, I thought he was better in this game. The Washington game, it was really noticeable. Yes. Really noticeable.
We got no pressure on him whatsoever from anywhere.
Yeah, no. But the hope, I think, would be that, listen, you get Miles back, that does give you a body to get more snaps. That does take some stuff off Sam. That allows him to maybe heal even a little bit better. Yeah. And then maybe as the second half of the season goes and you hope you're still in this thing, and Sunday's going to be a big decision maker in that regard, that you have now a nice rotation at that end spot.
So the guy that I've been, I hate to say disappointed in, but I was hoping he needs a big season, is Joseph Osai.
Yeah.
He
get it.
Been a non-factor, and it's not. He's been getting snaps.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's almost like the second half of the 2022 season, and that's all he has. That's what his first preseason game as a rookie, where he looked like Lawrence Taylor.
Right. The first series sack in Tom Brady.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. My holy shit.
Had that gone for the year, and then he had second half of 2022 and into the playoffs, and then boom, hasn't done anything last year, and he looks like the same guy that just
it's not injuries
didn't click.
So last year, I think, again, because he had the end game against Kansas City with the penalty, and then had surgery. And so he was physically compromised going into camp last year.
Right. Yes.
But to your point, this year there was
nothing.
That was kind of the conversation of, hey, finally Joseph gets a full off season to prepare himself, a full training camp to get ready. Looking forward to give him some, and he gives him nothing at the moment.
Right.
He was never going to give you a ton in the run game.
Yeah.
But your hope was he was going to give you
pin your ears back
7 sacks in the pass game, and he just
because they need
doesn't do that, and they need that desperately. So to answer, I don't think anybody can put their finger on it because there's no excuse right now.
It's frustrating.
Injury, whatever.
Yeah.
We just isn't getting it done.
Yeah, that we're all it's like everything we're concerned about is on the defense side of the ball, and that's Joseph was saying, I don't know if it's going to get any better. I really can't wait to see Miles Murphy. I mean, they need, and I can't emphasize, need him to be an impact player to at least get some pressure off Trey.
And I thought, everybody kind of crapped on his season last year. Well, playing behind Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson in key spots, and they're going to put those guys on the field as much as possible. I don't think this was as much Miles Murphy related as it was just there wasn't a lot of opportunity there for him. But if you look at the stats at the end of the day, I think he ended up fourth on this team in sacks. It wasn't much. It was 3.5, but he still ended up fourth on this team in sacks. I thought as the year went on, he made an impact. Sometimes it wasn't all sack related, but it was some pressures.
Right.
He at least flashed. And I thought that was a really good sign. Lou talks about this too. He's not a big believer in rookie corners because they're not ready, but they had to play them. He says the same about
he's not believing in rookies. Period.
No, he's not. And defensive ends fall into that mix too. There's a learning curve there, and so I do think I thought Miles was having a good camp before he got hurt, and so
it looked good to me.
He picks up where that was.
Yeah, and that will be huge if we get some kind of pressure because that's the thing. We have one guy, who can get pressure on the quarterback. That's it. It's Trey. That's it.
And he's doing it facing constant double teams,
right?
Because who wouldn't double team him at this point?
Yeah, because he's the only one you have to worry about. So that's hopefully that gives me hope for us being able to at least slow down the Ravens. Hopefully. Now, one thing I want to go to the offensive side. And last week, I know Shannon Sharp said this, and Chris Canty said this, that Joe Burrow is an average quarterback. And I want them to get the blank out of here. I think
silly.
It's clickbait. It's stupid.
That was a very hot take.
Yeah, it's talking to here to have an opinion because you have nothing else to say.
Right. I mean, to say what he did last week and then follow it up with this week, you can say what you want about the teams, but look what he did against the Chiefs. I mean, there's no way Joe Burrow is an average quarterback. I don't get this narrative.
I think it was fair to question where the wrist was after the opener, right? Oh gosh, what's going on with this dink and dunk stuff? And he doesn't trust pushing it down the field. And I think there was something to that. And I think he's gone through that stuff before. You go back to that knee injury in camp.
I think it's a lot of rust, to be honest.
I think there's
played football for 10 months.
And I also think, too, I'm not sure he completely trusted at that point. And so after that, I think he realized, to hell with it. I'm going to let it rip and let the chips fall where they may. Last 3 games, and I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I'll give you the 70% completion percentage, 800 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, crazy interception last week, over 100 passer rating. That's not an average quarterback.
No.
Yes, week 1 stunk, and it was weird to watch. And again, I'll take it as the one-off of what all the things to your point. Rust, didn't trust it. Defense, the way the structure. I mean, he's making every throw right now. And even I can excuse him a little bit for the interception last week. They do have scramble rules, right? And Chase followed the scramble rule.
Oh, dude!
One way,
if he went, he was gone.
And Joe read that, but again, that's if you have rules in place, you kind of go by the rules.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pin that on Joe, but at the same time, I'm not going to kill him for that interception.
Yeah.
That's 1 pick in 3 games, man. I mean,
and he was running around trying to make a play.
Yes,
I mean, and he did it earlier in the game and made a play. Now I know you talked about this earlier, but Chop gets pissed. He wants to know what's your thoughts on Chris Jenkins.
I thought he played great. He's playing, he's playing one hand. I want to see what he's playing when he plays two-handed.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know. I mean, could he be? I'll preface this: there is no replacing DJ Reader.
Right.
Could he be the guy that potentially could? Not now.
Yeah, I don't
grow into that.
Different body.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
He feels like he's in between of a 3 technique and a nose, but I think he's kind of a nice combination of both. He's got great quickness, strength. He's learned. I mean, I don't know if you remember the Tampa game. It was a touchdown run from Bucky Irving, I believe, in the preseason, and Chris had an embarrassing rep. I mean, he literally got pushed out of the hole and got pancaked. And I remember the next week I was talking to Lou mostly about the rookies, but I said, I got to ask you about. Well, I was talking about the rookies. I said, Chris, that 1 rep. He said he was great. Other than that, he said he's got to learn how to anchor better. We'll go through all that stuff. And okay, well then same situation, right? Down in the goal line against Carolina. Who makes the play? Everybody saw it.
A double team.
He blew it up.
Yes, blew it up.
I mean, when I saw the replay, I've seen it live. You're like, oh, what a great play. Then you see it, the replay of it.
It's even better.
And it's even better because he pushes the blocker back into the hole.
Yep.
If he doesn't do that, I'm not sure he's able to then get around and make the tackle. I just don't think there would have been enough time to do that.
Right.
That was a spectacular play. And I just think that's scratching the surface. Never mind, he made another flash play. Never mind, he almost picked off a screen pass.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
right there.
Place. Yeah.
And that bodes well going into this game. So I'm very excited about Chris Jenkins. Now let's go back to the offensive side of the ball here. Jamar Chase. Unbelievable. I mean, the play he made, that's a Jamar Chase play. I can't remember if somebody said this. I don't want to say Chris Collins, but I can't remember. They said it's a Steve Smith play. Steve Smith,
it's a physical run. Yeah.
Yes, that's Steve Smith made a career out of doing that. Jamar Chase made a career out of doing that. And to me, Uno said earlier in the week, I'm done. I'm putting the offseason in the past. I'm putting it behind me. We're going down. It looked like he did.
Yeah, I think there's still a little frustration with the coverage stuff for him, which I get. Yeah. But I think he does now fully understand that, listen, now that I got T back, I'm going to get some opportunities. Yeah. It happened in the Washington game, right? 2 long touchdowns, over 100 yards. T had the big first half this past week, 6 catches for 60 yards. And I'm guessing Carolina went, well, we can't let that guy keep running free. Let's try to figure out a way to occasionally go on him.
Right.
And then that frees up Jamar. And then, he showed just the athleticism in space of, bouncing off 2 tackles, getting to the corner and turning the corner, and then down the sideline he goes. And listen, it's nice to have 11 play 70-yard drives, and you make 5 first downs, and it's all really good. It's nice to have a 60.
Yeah, that explosive play. It makes it easier.
Those are good to have, right?
It's hard to continually put together 8-10 play drives, drive after drive after drive. Well, and that's the thing. And then they're having to double or at least put more coverage to both receivers. And then you hit Yoshi down the seam for a 29-yard pass. That's the cover 2 breaker right there.
And that touch.
Right. That was perfect placement.
Great throw, great catch.
Yeah.
I mean, for both.
And that's how, Bengals been trying to deal with this since after 2021 when everyone started playing the cover 2 shells. Everyone in the league. You look at the passing numbers, they're ridiculous how low they are.
Right.
And if you can exploit that and find a guy, whether it's Yoshi, I think Mike Gesicki can do similar things down the stretch because of his size and his hands. Obviously, he's doesn't have the blazing speed that a wide receiver has, but the more these guys get integrated, now they're full strength at offense now.
Well, and then to the point of the cover 2 shell, you're running into lighter boxes, and if you start running the ball, and the running game opens up some play action stuff, and it opens up some bootlegs of those tight ends.
You can do anything.
Honestly, I think their toolbox right now is you can almost. And I think Zach said this after the game. You can almost look at everything on the play sheet and go, I think that's going to work. That looks pretty good.
Exactly.
And that's a tough place for a defense when you are literally not calling out a desperation of, and part of this is the pass protection has been pretty good. It was really good on Sunday.
Been really good.
Of knowing, hey, I don't have to worry about making this call and gosh, are we going to block this up or not block this up? Okay, yeah, I want to get the running game going. So let's try some of that. I don't want to get us in 2nd and 9s and 2nd and 10s. No, this run's going to get us in 2nd and 4. And now I've got the call sheet open to me again.
Yeah.
I really listen, the offense was really explosive in 21 when it got clicking. It was really good in 22. I think this is the most diverse and the biggest potential offense.
I think it's
more Joe Burrow, Zach
Taylor
too. Yeah, because I think you can literally almost do anything. You want to pop a wide run, you want to pop a between the tackles run. You want to play action and find a tight end in the seam. You want to find a tight end in the flat. You want to find a tight end on an out route. You want to find Jamar Chase in single coverage. By the way, T. Higgins now has single coverage. You've got literally your whole toolbox open to you.
You can come out in 12 personnel and run under center. You can come out in 12 personnel, run pistol. You can do
so much.
There's no. I don't know how a defensive coach is going to scheme against that. Be able to, you're hoping that the Bengals stop themselves at that point. And again, the Bengals 2024 draft class, and I'm very critical of the draft. Of the draft.
I wrote a column ripping the defensive drafts after the Washington game. But to your, I know this draft class has been pretty good.
Yeah, Amarius Mims, he looks again. We've seen one half and then a full game. Jadeveon Clowney obviously isn't as explosive as he was when he came into the league. He's still a wily, very good pass rusher.
Yeah.
And he gave up 2 pressures.
Yes,
I only remember
him down, dude.
Yeah, I only remember the one pressure, and that was the one that Burrow threw the interception. I don't remember seeing the other one, but he looks like, and again, 6 quarters of football or whatever it is. But there's a reason that the guy was drafted that high with that little film. Eric this is again, I keep tooting my own horn. This was a guy I wanted them. This is a guy I was talking about before the draft season. A guy that can do both, and he seems that he's almost ascended to tight end 1. He outsnapped everybody.
I'm not so sure you're wrong.
Yeah.
Mike Gesicki is tight end / receiver 1, right?
Yeah. And Drew's your move tight end fullback, but the number 1 tight end when you're running 11 personnel, it's Eric All.
So my question about All for you Is he the most complete tight end we've had since Rodney Holman? Ooh. That's the one that comes to my mind.
Gresham was close. In Jermaine Gresham's day, he was pretty good. I'll give you that. Rodney Holman's a good one, man. I like Rodney.
Rodney Holman was really good. Everyone forgets about him.
Going back a long. No, Sean Brewer. No love for Sean Brewer.
He's the best 2-pack-a-day tight end they've ever had.
Smoking some heat. Oh my God.
Yep. He's the best heater you got, man. No, I think he's going to ascend to that. I really do. I think that they probably don't resign Gesicki. So I think in the offseason, I think you'll see this evolve into Eric All as tight end 1. They'll still have Drew Sample under contract. I think Tanner Hudson will still probably be in that mix somehow as a third tight end. And Tanner McLaughlin's on the roster too that they like. I do think, and you've seen it, that the things you can do with All, you can line him up in line. You can line him up as a wing in motion, and then he wham blocks. And then, occasionally he can line up in the backfield as an I fullback. And,
he likes this job, especially on wham blocks. He's absolutely sizing guys up to destroy. I love it. He's seeking missile.
Yeah, and
then he'll slip out and catch. Yeah, flip guy head over heels. and like I love watching just the intensity that he plays ball.
Honestly, he's a really natural receiver.
Yeah.
I think it was the Kansas City game. He caught one along the sidelines, and he just kind of – it was a good throw. It was a great throw, but he just kind of plucked it. The ball was actually over the sideline when he plucked it out of the air with hands.
Oh, yeah.
And, it just looked like that's a natural receiver.
Smooth. Yeah.
Some tight ends don't have that ability to do that.
He did that in the very first pass.
Yes.
At training camp.
Yep.
I was standing. Where
that was at one in the end zone, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the end zone where I was standing.
Yeah.
And he does a pirouette and catches it one-hander going, oh, that's pretty good.
That's the dude. He's got some.
Yeah, I'm like, that's for your very first catch. I know it's training camp, but so what?
He's been the most pleasant surprise because honestly, when we got it, and I understand
I thought he was going to be in a pup list.
I thought it was a complete redshirt year for him.
Yeah,
it felt like it was great. What a great move. Get this guy redshirt year to work out.
You just re-signed Drew Sample, Tanner Hudson, and Mike Gesicki. You've got time to wait.
And then McLaughlin was your extra guy just in case you needed.
Exactly.
It's turned out completely different. He's become He's become tight end 1 in my opinion.
So where are we at? What's your thoughts on Tanner Hudson? Do you think he might make it back this week?
It's a great question.
Do they need him?
I was going to say, even if he is, I'm not sure he's even active at this point, and that's okay. I think Tanner's a really good pass catcher, and Joe trusts him and all those things. But if he's inactive, it tells me that they like where they're at the tight end position, and I think they should.
Yeah. And it's funny because last year, just competent tight end play as a receiver. Like he comes in and he's a revelation. All of a sudden, he's Bob Trumpy, and no, he's the same guy who's been a practice squad player. We just had
you're driving Bob Trumpy. You got to be about Rodney Holman.
Yes. He's a solid practice squad player, but that's how awful the reps they got. I mean, Irv Smith.
Oh, it was terrible.
Wherever the hell he is.
Room was awful last year.
Yeah. And that room's totally see what happens when you actually put resources towards the position, 2 draft picks, and bringing in a free agent. And now you have actual depth there for long term. With Drew Sample and then the 2 draft picks. So that room's set for a while.
It is, which is good.
So Michael Mann's got a question here. Says, I'll pop it up here. Who do we get on the PS practice squad with Dallas claiming KJ?
I would assume that will be the spot now claimed
Brad
by
Robbins.
Brad Robbins. Yes.
Right.
That was an interesting signing by Dallas. I mean, they gave him a 2-year deal, I believe.
Really?
Wow, really?
Yeah. And honestly, when the Bengals claimed, I thought it was a great claim. From what I understand, he had a great camp in Washington, and they really liked him, and he was running a lot of second-team snaps.
Didn't bring him up at all?
He got a little bit of run, but nothing. I think Cedric Johnson moved ahead of him. And at that point, you hope he sticks around. And to his credit, he got a deal with Dallas. Good for him.
Yeah, exactly. So, funny thing, like yesterday on the show, the comments were, Brad Robbins got on the active roster. Oh my God,
are we losing their minds?
Oh yeah, are we going to have a punter competition here? Sorry, I ignored it because I was like, let's see what the hell they do.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is so he was on the injured reserve list. If you waive him before you activate him, you have to give him an injury settlement.
Right.
So this way, you put him on the roster for a day, take him off the roster the next day, in all likelihood, bring him back to the practice squad.
Yeah.
It's a win, honestly, for everybody.
Yes,
and they already
it's procedural. So a lot of times when you see these moves, just relax for a day, and watch it play out.
Right, that's kind of where I was at.
And a lot of people were losing their minds because it's one of their injury to return spots. First off, that was already burned when they set him on that at cutdown day. Second off, he was insurance in case we didn't expect Ryan Rico to
know this,
right? I mean, we knew he had a cannon leg, but he's kicking 58.3 yards a kick and with a net of 49. I mean,
and hitting 64-yarders in a game, pinning a guy to a sideline. Not just hitting it, right. Pinning a guy to a sideline.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it that he had a cannon for a leg. We both saw that trade. It was inconsistent.
Yeah, there was occasionally we saw the occasional absolutely duck hook.
And he struggled and during one of the preseason games, like he made a couple of kind of iffy kicks. And I said something cynical or sarcastic on social media, and literally 5 seconds later, Ryan Rico is now following you. Somebody in charge of his social media immediately followed because I made an
asshole. I'll follow him.
He is actually a super, super nice kid. I mean, he really is. So I'm going to guess he followed you just to see. I don't think he was
had to be like a family member unless he's on the sideline with his phone. Oh, this asshole Jay Farfsing is making comments. I'm like, what is happening?
Well, you should get him on the show and he can call you an asshole on the show. I think great.
He's a nice little Mormon guy. I don't think he'll call you that.
Right,
he may think that. He may think that a lot, but he won't call you that.
I'm surrounded by assholes.
True that.
Firing assholes.
That's baseball.
We drop a lot of baseball
stuff. Sorry. But so with the keep it Brad, I don't think it's a bad idea because yes, Rico's kicking great now. We've seen him shank him. I mean, it's a good backup plan to have to keep. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, Brandon Robinson is terrible. He's all." In the preseason, I don't think he did.
I thought he was fine. The competition was a good competition, and honestly, I still would have loved to have seen what their final decision would have been, and it may have been completely different. And maybe at the end of the day, the decision was obviously made for them,
right?
And sometimes that needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Darren Simmons, I know he's told me this before. He's sure he's told you this too. Holding is 95% more important to him than punting the ball.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. It's a bigger part than the punting of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, and Brad could do that.
I was going to say, we'll see if Brad gets activated for gets called up in the practice squad a couple games in. They don't like his holding.
Right. I mean,
Evans missed a couple. I don't say gimmies, but
he didn't. Well, he did good this week, so we'll see. But let's move on to Pete Rose here, who to me was like when I was a kid, my grandfather's favorite player, made him my favorite player. My grandma loved Johnny Bench. My grandpa loved Pete Rose. I love both of them, but I was always kind of a Pete Rose kid. Pete Rose fan here.
Makes me think that you might be from the west side.
Exactly. So, and you say what Pete's done bad stuff. He hasn't always been a great person and, been on baseball and all this stuff here. But for this city, Pete means something to this city. And I can't, and that's what I keep saying. I keep tweeting that. I can't really put it into words what he means to Cincinnati. Do you got anything to say?
So I think that's why so many fans were disappointed that Pete kept essentially lying about betting on baseball and then finally admitted it. I think fans in this city
make a buck.
Totally would have said to make a buck. No, you're dead right. I mean, to sell a book.
The book, yeah.
I think if he had literally come out right after this and said, I did this, I regret doing this for these reasons, every fan would have come back and go, man, we still love you. I don't think most do. I mean, when the statue unveiling, all that, I was in the ballpark today for all those things. The fans loved it, and they should have. But he is a complicated legacy because what you watched him as a player, and that was my childhood. I mean, I graduated high school in 81, so as a kid growing up, going to Riverfront and games, I got lucky to be watching the Big Red Machine play.
Right.
And watching Pete Rose. And, to your point, I emulated everything about him other than his batting stance, and I couldn't switch hit. I tried. I tried. But honestly, everything else from making a catch and slamming the ball in the glove as I came in, literally being a clown. And I was thinking, now I look at guys running to first base, I was like, what a clown show. Well, I did it because we did it then. I mean, I didn't slide head first because I could never perfect it. So I never tried to do that.
I feel like I got my wind knocked out doing that once in Little League, and it hurt so bad. I'm like,
it's funny because I never tried it.
I tried.
I watch these guys today all do it with the mitts on. It's like, man, you guys are over sliding bags. Back in the day, we would slide into a bag and do the pop up slide.
Okay, the funniest thing. Okay, just a quick aside. So I coach my son's team. These are 14, 15-year-old, 8th grade, 9th graders. Everyone has a sliding mitt. They'll get on first base. Put all this stuff on. Not one kid could slide head first. Like, what?
Then why do you have it on?
You're missing the signs. Like you're standing on the bag for the first 3 pitches.
Right.
Like what? Why are we doing this? To put on all this equipment? I'm like, and I was first base. Coach, I'm like, stop. Right. I'm like, just leave the damn. Just hand it to me.
Yes.
Get your lead off and go.
But it looks cool.
Right.
It looks cool, man.
Because Ellie's got the ice cream drip.
Yes, exactly.
But Ellie can slide head first. You're not Ellie De La Cruz.
That's right. No, that's the explanation. You're not Ellie De La Cruz. No one is.
No one is.
Right. Next summer, you're going to be working at a Kroger trying,
Correct. Correct.
getting carts out of the parking lot. Okay.
Exactly.
No, but to your point, the legacy is complicated. I don't think anybody, even the most ardent Pete fan, can argue with that, because you can't ignore what he did on the field. What he did on the field was stinking ridiculous.
Right. Yeah.
The consistency with which he did it, all the numbers he filled. I know Dan Horde, the voice of the Bengals, had a great tweet last night, I believe it was. Bobby Witt Jr. had 211 hits this year. Mm-hmm. If Bobby Witt Jr. did that for 20 straight years, he's still short of Pete Rose in the record. That's incredible, right? I mean,
the hit record, I don't think will ever be broken, because
I don't either. Nobody's going to play long enough.
Nobody's gonna,
right. That's exactly what Jeff and I said before.
Nobody's going to play long enough, and nobody's going to get that many hits consistently,
or play that many games. I mean, he played
every day. He played the most games. I think he's won the most games. Yep. He's got the most hits.
Lost the most games.
Because he played the most games. You're going to lose a lot.
Most hits, most outs. I mean, anything for longevity. He owns every single record for longevity.
He was 45 when he got 4192. And he got 4,256, 86, 87, whenever his last
86
was his last year of actually playing. So I mean, he was 45
going to 46.
46 years old when he. Yeah. I mean, these guys they don't play that long. Not alone get that many hits, because nobody tries to get hits. You either swing and miss, or you hit a home run, and they change the rules. It's still, or you take a walk.
Yes, it's a different game.
Yeah, on base percentage, getting on base is more important than getting a hit anymore.
So you make all the all-star teams he did, you go, oh, that's nice. And then you go, well, yeah, but you also started 5 different positions in an all-star game.
17 all-star games?
17 all-star games, 5 different positions as a starter.
Yeah.
You can't discount any of those things. But then the complicated legacy is the gambling tarnishes it.
Among other things.
Yeah, among other things. Yeah, I mean, there's even probably worse. There is worse than that.
He went to the federal prison for tax evasion.
For 5 months,
And I come at it, and I was angry tweeting on Twitter, because
yes, he was.
I hold a lot of the character flaws against him, and resent that because of how much he meant to the city of Cincinnati and who was hiding behind this facade. But and I think that it's kind of to Jeff's point, into people, and this is why it hits for a lot of people. Baseball, more than any other sport, it's not the most popular sport anymore. It's number 3 now, but it's the sport that people still pass down from generation to generation.
Yes.
My dad and I were never close. Like we watched football games together, but I remember him taking us to baseball games, tossing baseball with us, coaching my brother's teams and everything. And Pete Rose, especially here in the city, he was our own player. He was our guy. He was one of us. And never mind the fact that he was 83 years old, and that's what happens to 83-year-olds. It's people, old people like Jeff.
Hey, Steve's older than I am. What are you talking about?
That's why I bit my lip for a minute, but keep going.
Kidding. I was born in 80, so I remember.
God, you're old.
I remember 4191 or 4192, but I don't remember a whole lot of his playing career. But I think more of just how the game is passed on from generation to generation, and how this was, my guy was Joe Nuxall, and I don't think I would believe if, much older than Pete Rose.
A little bit.
If there are all these character flaws, I think I'd struggle with it. I'm a left-handed guy from Cincinnati named Joe. My goal was to be younger than him and make the majors, and then replace him in the broadcast booth and be the young left-hander.
And now you're on my podcast.
Exactly.
God, you dropped.
Where did we go wrong?
I know.
But and that's so I do understand people that either don't accept or overlook the flaws. Because this is their guy. This was their youth, and you don't want to believe that this guy did that. You're a hero.
Trust me, I didn't want to believe him for years.
Right.
I defended him for years.
And a lot of people did, and I was doing sports talk radio then, and I didn't, and took a lot of heat for it. And then
I remember I would be yelling at you on the radio. Skinny, you're wrong. By the way, you're right. Sorry,
that's okay. It's all good. And again, that's where the complication comes in, because I can understand why baseball banished him, but I can also make the argument, okay, let him be banished, let him not be back in the game ever, but let's let his credentials on the field speak for themselves to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, that's again, there's a whole conflict with all of this.
And that's
there's the part of going, man, I love watching you as a player, but as a person, you're kind of a turd. I mean, it's just a weird.
It's a the Hall of Fame for great people. It's a Hall of Fame.
No, right.
But the Hall of Fame also, they voted to
Right.
the year
That's
that
right.
Pete was
The year that-
the year
that's
that
right.
Pete was eligible.
Yep.
They
They
voted
changed
to
it.
keep people off of baseball as ineligible, and everyone in the chat that's saying like a lifetime ban. It's not a lifetime ban. It's a permanent ban. This isn't now that he's eligible.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's
that's
Well,
permanent.
he's ineligible until he's not ineligible.
And be clear with this, the conversations he had with the commissioners to try to get reinstated.
Yeah.
They had some conditions in place. One of them is don't gamble, man. You can't do it.
Right.
Well, he chose, and that's fine. You live
Yeah.
your own life.
Right.
Right.
You live it how you want to live it. But he chose to continue to gamble. And listen to the Johnny Bench interview today. You guys might have heard it with Dan Patrick. If you didn't, it's
I
worth a
haven't
listen.
gotten a
I
chance
have
to
It's
see it,
a
but
really
I
good
follow.
listen.
I wanted to
You
watch
can
it.
tell there's a tinge of sadness, obviously, teammate, friend,
Yeah.
Right.
but a friend he had conflicts with, and clearly a tinge of he's really mad.
Yeah.
He's mad that Pete didn't help himself to get in, that everybody was fighting for him and he wouldn't fight for himself. And again, that goes back to this whole conflicted situation with Pete here.
Right.
That I had a question today. I was doing election radio. Do you think he gets in now that he's dead? I said, I don't. And B, how sad would that be?
I don't want him in.
Right.
It
What's the-
came
you
to
know,
that? What's that
what's the
going to
point?
do?
Yeah.
What's the point of that?
To be honest, that would be more sad. I wouldn't want him in now. I mean, yes, if they get him in, great, but it's just
I mean, legacy, family.
It'd be great to
kids,
go
grandkids,
visit.
right,
To go visit.
it's like I don't know. He should have got in for baseball. I mean, 'cause we'll talk about this. Like I said this all the time. It's the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame for what you did on the field, not for being a great person. Ferguson Jenkins is in there, got convicted of cocaine. Who else was I going to say? There's
Doc Ellis threw a no hitter on LSD. Drugs are cool.
yeah, I mean, there's lots of guys who've done.
I still
stuff.
don't believe that story, though. By the way, it's still one of the great stories of all
It's
time.
fantastic.
It really is.
There's no
I
way
think
that
he
you
was
were
on
able
it-
to see
I
home
swear,
plate.
I think he was on LSD when he told the story that I was on LSD pitching a no hitter.
Might have been. But my point is, it's not the Hall of Good. It's the Hall of Fame.
No,
for what you
right.
did on the
There's
field.
no
And-
question.
And they put the character clause in the voting thing, but they've ignored it for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, because honestly, I think the steroid guys should be in. They knew about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was
at
that
first-
era.
and I've changed
They
my mind. on
condoned
it.
it.
Yeah,
Right. That I mean, it wasn't illegal. It
Right.
wasn't against the
Yes.
bylaws of baseball.
I mean,
until
at first,
2000.
I hated it. I'm like, no, they shouldn't do that. But I'm like, they didn't. They knew it was happening. Everybody was doing it.
How many guys from the 50s, 60s, 70s
Right.
were doing
You
it?
had greenies, yellows,
Greenies.
right?
Exactly.
I mean, come on now. I mean, they
Pete
all
Rose
did
did green.
stuff.
Like Pete Rose admitted to doing green.
Right.
Absolutely.
Pete Rose lived with a steroid dealer.
Yeah,
Pretty sure Pete Rose took steroids.
Yeah, I mean, Mickey Mantle. talked about
Jim Bouton outed everybody in ball 4 about the greenies. So,
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
So that's where I'm like, the way they hold standards for character.
but Pete didn't help him. That's about
Right.
it.
He didn't know. He
didn't
did.
help
He was.
himself.
He did not.
Bart
That's what
Giamatti
sucks.
gave him they wanted, if Pete would have come out and admitted everything, he would have given him 1 year suspension. He
you're
would have
right.
been out of
I
baseball,
think that's-
and he would have been eligible. He wouldn't have been on the permanent
Because
list. He wouldn't have been able to be in baseball. Wouldn't have been able to manage.
Yes.
But it would have been in 1 year, and he didn't. And a lot of people are saying that Faye Vincent or the other guys hold Pete responsible for Bart Giamatti's
Yeah.
death. And honestly,
I'm not sure they don't.
right.
It was.
But I think
Bart Giamatti supposedly really
I
liked
would
Pete
say,
Rose.
dude,
Supposedly,
dude,
Like,
Oh, he idolized him. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Bart Giamatti was the last
I
GM.
think
That was
this-
the last
I think it killed
commissioner
him.
that loved baseball.
yeah, it killed him to do
It,
this.
the stress of
Yeah.
dealing with it, of the biggest
Right.
icon
Well,
at the time.
And-
smoking
and-
smoking
and-
three
so
packs a
couple
day, and
packs
that-
a year
that-
doesn't help.
being a little overweight didn't help him.
But Sean Brewer's still around,
Yes, he is.
I think.
and as a
I'm gonna have to Google that when I go home.
I know.
and as a 12-year-old kid, I hated Bart Giamatti because I was 12.
I
don't-
get it. No, I understand it.
You know, a 49-year-old guy, I understand.
Yeah.
What happened now? So it's sad. It sucks. But let's go to the steroids. So put it this way, I don't think if they don't let Pete in, they don't let those guys in.
Yeah, again, but they're on the ballot. There's a big difference. Pete
Yeah,
was never allowed on the
he's eligible.
ballot.
But then
and
I
think
get
that's-
close.
Yeah, some of these guys are starting to garner a little bit more from a voting
Poppy made
perspective, and I think eventually some people will soften enough to go, that was that era. Let's go ahead and let him in.
Right.
Yeah.
It hit me like a ton of bricks too
Oh, dude,
last night. I mean, I
My
was
wife ran downstairs and told me, I'm like, huh?
he didn't look good in the picture that we've probably all
I
seen
saw
from
the one the
Sunday.
night before.
Yeah.
Like,
But he was there Sunday looking good enough,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
gone. For a lot of people, my age and probably a hair younger that saw him literally play most of his career, it probably cut out a part of your childhood like that.
right. That's exactly.
I remember. I didn't idolize. I don't never idolize. I don't think anybody's an athlete, but I emulated him.
Yeah.
Clearly, I didn't
mean-
emulate a lot of athletes. Him, I emulated.
Right.
Eric Davis or Barry Larkin, God forbid, whenever their time comes up, those were the guys from, I'm born in '80, so I mean, these guys when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, those guys, they're not going to live forever. I mean, hopefully I outlive them because I'm a lot younger, but
you better.
like it's and I completely understand it. And again, like Jeff said he was about ready he was going to punch me.
Oh yeah.
Because,
his tweet last night, I wanted to go through the phone and choke him.
but that's the thing. He evokes a lot of strong opinions.
And that was my point. I said Pete means something to the city, and he means something to me.
You talk about Cincinnati, West Side. It's the core. Whether East Side people want to hear it or not, I'm a Northern Kentuckian. West Side is the core of this city. It's just plain and simple the core of this city.
Take that, Joe.
I get it.
No.
The neighborhoods and everything. Yeah. It's more community.
No.
I grew up in a big subdivision. I didn't know half the people. I barely knew half the kids in my high school.
I'm the same way. I grew up in Northern Kentucky in the suburbs. So
exactly.
that's the core city. Yeah. So he grew up in the core.
Yeah.
He played in the city. I mean, all the things this is a blue collar city, always has been, always will be.
I played on the fields he played on.
There you go. I mean, so all the things that would involve that.
On the field he played on.
There you go.
He was trying to pick up some of the girls you were classmates with.
Probably. He might have been. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like he's so ingrained in I keep saying West Side, but just Cincinnati in general.
Yes.
It's hard, and he evokes an emotion out of you, either good, bad, indifferent, whatever. He means something to somebody in the city, and that's the legacy that I think he will leave, and there'll never be another guy like Pete Rose coming out of Cincinnati ever.
No, I would agree with that. My favorite. There's been so many stories. You hear them today on shows and whatever, and the one I heard today was a great one. I can't remember. Pete was doing an interview not too long ago where the interviewer asked him, Pete, if you were playing today, what do you think you'd hit? And he said, no, 190, something like that. And said, oh, you think the pitching today is that good? He goes, no, I'm 80 years old.
Exactly. Exactly.
Here's one thing that always drove me nuts. Like people, because of the way that he played, that he was 150%, all out the entire time. People discount his ability. He was a fucking amazing ball player.
He was.
He
was so self-made because he was okay high school player.
Right. And he wasn't physically imposing. He wasn't really tall. He wasn't really strong, but he was a fantastic baseball player.
No question.
The extra
was elite.
Yeah. I mean, the extra effort that he gave, that pushed him from being a Jeff Keppinger, Spencer Steer type utility guy to being a guy.
Ryan Friel, baby, became the modern stereotype. Right?
Yep.
Hopefully, thank God he didn't go Ryan Friel's way. That guy
correct. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
But to made him into a legend. I mean, made him a Hall of Fame caliber player. But it's all everyone is discounting him. No, he was a really good athlete.
No, I mean, not just the hitting aside. He could steal you a base. He wasn't going to steal you 40 or 50, but he could steal you 20.
Good base runner.
Great base runner.
Amazing.
First to third, out of the box.
Yeah.
I mean, leads the league in doubles multiple times.
Yeah.
Not because it was always in the gap. I mean, how many times did you watch him hit, bloop shots into left center, and all of a sudden you watch him tear around first base, helmet flies off, dives into second. That's a single for almost everybody.
Right.
But
left fielder loafing a little bit, just expected.
Big bounce enough off the turf, all those things.
Yeah.
And so, to your point, I mean, you don't play 5 different positions and make an all-star team.
4 seasons.
And you can go, he was a first baseman. What is that? He's a left fielder. What is that? I don't care. It's 5 different spots, man.
He played the keystone. I mean,
there's only 9 positions on the field, and he ain't pitching, so there's only 8 that you can potentially play, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, he's so ingrained in the city of how we root for players. Like I got Chris Sabo right now.
There you go.
It's also to a negative. It's held against certain players because they don't go all out. Barry Larkin should get as much. Should have as much love because Barry Larkin's another Cincinnati born and raised.
Davis got so much crap because he got injured. I would put his 1987 season up against anybody.
That was a crazy year.
It was if he did not get injured, he would have been he could have been the first 40.
He might have been the first 50. Well, he might not get to 50, but he would have been first 40. Yeah, absolutely.
I think he would have been the first 40.
I mean, there was the 162. It was 390 days between 86 and 87 where he had 50 home runs and 100 stolen bases.
It's insane.
Barely over a full season's game.
It's ridiculous. And that's the thing is so to your point, that helps Cincinnati and hurts other players because when you have a player who grinds at Ryan Friel, Chris Sabo,
right.
Guys like that. I mean, people love Ellie De La Cruz because he hustles.
Right.
I mean, you don't ever see him and he's got all the talent in the world.
Yeah.
So that just engrades you in Cincinnati, but then also, like you said, it does hurt you.
And it was year after year after year after year after year. I mean, that's the thing that's the most amazing to me. You go back looking through his, like, even batting average, which isn't a stat everybody loves to quote today. But one year, I think he hits 284 in like 1974, and you think, oh, he's on the downside. Well, then comes 75 and 76 and beyond. It's like, no, it was just kind of one of those years where stuff happens, whatever, you know. If the blip is 284 and a 370 on base percentage, I think, especially today, I'd take that from anybody today. But even then, you take it in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
I mean, until his age 43 season, the fewest amount of games he played was 148.
That's incredible.
136 his second year, and then 148, 150, 149, 50, 160, 162. Right.
I mean, look how many games Johnny Bench played.
Right.
As a catcher.
Yeah.
I mean, he crouched out every. I mean, he didn't miss. They didn't miss games. That wasn't part of the DNA.
Joni didn't catch. He played left field or sometimes played first base.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, they played every single game. We're not.
Should have had the DH.
That would have been nice. But we're never going to see that again. Well, one.
No, you mentioned Pete's record not being broken. Cal Ripken Street.
No.
Oh, God, nobody
a guy gets to 7, 8. Someone just hit like 700 or 800.
Yeah.
Like, that's the longest.
It feels amazing the guy's done that.
Right. That's almost 5 seasons of playing every game.
Those records will never be broken just because the way the game has changed, the way it's managed, the way it's played, everything. It just won't happen. It just.
You want guys fresher. I mean, you'd be like,
these guys
be worn down.
And some of it is clubs are being smarter with guys.
Right.
To your point,
Load management.
Load management. Exactly right. Hey, you've played 13 straight days.
NBA teams should be able to play, though.
NBA is a little ridiculous. You're getting paid $50 million and you're playing 50 games. You're healthy. You're just taking but
I mean, there were times this year where, you're screaming for Ellie to get a day off. They didn't have an option, and you could see it affected Ellie at times.
Yeah.
And listen, he's playing through
exhausted
it,
by the
but
end of the year.
he needed a day off here and there, and they just couldn't do it.
Now, with that being said, the Reds, which shocking, you said on your podcast you didn't even know that David Bell got fired until somebody texted you.
Yeah, I fell asleep that night. My boss actually put the story up, and I woke up to a buddy's text at like 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, he said, "This is Bush League, how they did that," and I went, Bush League, how they did what? And then all of a sudden I started looking around and go, oh, wow, holy cow, they fired David Bell.
With 2 years left on his contract, they just extended him last year. I didn't think they were going to fire him, to be honest.
No, I didn't either, but it feels like they had enough meetings to where he wanted the direction he wanted, they wanted the direction they wanted. Never the twain were going to meet. I don't know this for a fact. They obviously got rid of Jeff Pickler, who was kind of the strategy coach going into games. Yeah. I'm going to guess he was probably asked to make more changes in that, and he probably stood up for his guys thinking they're not going to fire me. Yeah. We all looked at the time. The timing was weird, but some of that actually fell on David. He wanted to go to his son's football game, which is admirable as a father. And they actually had to bring him back, and that's when it took place. And he's like, I need some time to call people so they don't hear it secondhand. And I mean, initially when you're like, that's what my friend's text was about how Bush League it was, of how late on a Sunday night, trying to bury it, all those things. I don't think that wasn't the case. It felt like it. But to your point, I mean, if you go back, all the glowing things that were said about him at the extension, what changed?
That's what I want to know.
It wasn't a fundamentally sound group. They had base running issues. Maybe where we keep hearing is there wasn't a lot of accountability, and maybe that's what it came down to.
There was that?
Right. But I mean, how much
did change?
But here's the accountability thing for me is, I'll use Will Benson as a guy. So I'm going to hold Will Benson accountable for a base running area. And I look down the next day and go, Will Benson, or hey, we just brought up Reese Hines again for the 4th time. Who am I going to put in the line? And I think that's some of it too. It's easy to hold dudes accountable when you go, I'm holding you accountable. I think Cam Taylor-Britt on Sunday got held accountable, right?
Yeah, they sat him.
They felt, hey, this guy, DJ Turner, is a viable option to replace him.
Right.
I can hold him accountable. I don't know if this group you go, I mean, honestly, Ellie made some bad base running things at times, right? We all know it. It's clear as day. Are you really taking him out of the lineup to prove a point?
Right,
really?
Exactly.
I get some of it.
You should.
I'm a big accountability guy as a coach. I really am. I get that. But there's sometimes where you just swallow hard and go, if I even had a close to a viable option, I'd do this, but I don't, so I'm not going to do it.
Right. You try to coach him up to listen, you need to take, whether it's taking bed, falling asleep on the bases, or stealing a base when there's no need, getting caught stealing when there's no need, or God, stupid contact play, but that's not a bad base.
That's not on the players.
That's terrible strategy.
Well, I'm so tired of it. He does that every time. I'll put you
unless it's Ellie.
The worst part is there has to be a rule for contact play of it. Literally, if it's hitting the third baseman,
Right.
You're not going. And I
Yeah,
get
to the
listen,
course of the
contract.
pitcher.
How many times did they do that?
Yeah.
The one I
They
can't
don't even
remember-
pay attention where the ball's hit.
it was a college football Saturday because I was home recently, maybe 2 weeks ago. I can't remember who the Reds were playing. It was a home game, one of the last few home games they played. And there was a contact play. I flipped it over. I was flipping around. I flipped it on the game. I can't remember who got thrown out at home. But as soon as the third baseman gloved it, and he's like 2 steps, it's like, oh, my God, the catcher's going to be able to catch this and run down the line to tag this cat out. That's how egregious and bad it was.
Right. So my question is, what the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around this year was how much fun last year was, and how many amazing hits, clutch hits they got last year. And our starting pitching was horrible last year. Our starting pitching was pretty damn good for the most part this year.
Yeah.
We got absolutely no clutch hits. Yes, I understand guys had bad years. I understand injuries. That's where I think a manager makes a little bit of a difference. Something. We talked. I said maybe it's 10 games. That doesn't get us to the place. But there's something. There's some point where you see David Bell do. So all you saw David Bell do is go out there and get yelled at, people get thrown out of games.
I think part of the issue today for any manager is they're so, and I'm not anti-analytics. Don't get me wrong, guy, but I'm not anti-analytics. I think they're so reliant on analytics because you know what you can fall back on if you don't make the right decision.
Right. That's what the numbers say.
Here's what the numbers say, man.
Mm-hmm.
I got to put no. I think the beauty of managing is Tommy Lasorda saying, "Listen, Kirk Gibson, he's got no chance here, but he's my only chance here, and I'm going to run him out there."
Literally,
and was it a little over dramatic? Sure, it was, but he was obviously hurt, or he would have started. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of managing. To me, that's the art of it. Of I'm playing my gut here, man, and I can get vilified, and I just don't think any of these dudes do this anymore. I just don't.
And part of that is why I don't think, and I've said this over and over and over, 30 managers, there are maybe 5 good managers, maybe 5 bad managers, and the other 20 are interchangeable because the decisions, it's all you've got a game plan coach, you've got all the pitching coordinators that have the analytics to know when this guy's going to be taken out. If he faces this guy and it's his 3rd time through, no, you need to remove and put this guy in.
Even if he's mowed people down.
Right. Exactly. And I get it because numbers don't lie, but it's why it's so
buck
hard.
The trend, baby. Occasionally you can buck the trend, right?
Right. And you get stuck with mediocre managers because they're making the calls
because they have their feel. They reach for you said this, you said this, you said
that.
To me, there's too many Chiefs, or too many Indians, not enough Chiefs.
And part of it is how do you judge them? Because wins and losses, but who's winning with the lineup the Reds are running out there with all the injuries?
That's my point.
You can't hold that against David Bell. Now the one thing, his background was in player development.
Yes,
and the guys and that's I think a lot of the accountability because it was the younger guys who were making this mistake time after time after time. That I think maybe was the failing and what was the nail on the head. I mean, Nick Kroll rarely says anything that makes sense, but he actually said, was talking about those type errors and accountability. So I think there's something actually to that.
But to your point, Joe, I also think, listen, in any corporation, as we all know, you scapegoat your way down, right? Yeah, exactly. And so somebody was paying for this year, and maybe I go back to David. You're going to have to make somebody on your staff pay.
Yeah.
And maybe he balked at that.
They probably knew that he wasn't going to. So, easy decision. Easy.
Yes, great point.
Well, how surprised are you that they did this with 2 years left on his contract?
That's the most surprising part to me.
Because Bob doesn't spend money. You know what? Pay somebody to sit at home. That's why I didn't think they were going to do it.
That's the part to me. I thought he'd at least get next year to where it might bite the bullet for the next year.
1 year, not 2.
Or at least mid-season. Because the thing is, if you fire mid-season, there's a dead cat bounce.
Yes.
And a little change of direction can light a fire under guys. That's like this.
Absolutely.
This guy's gone. We got this guy fired. We need to get our shit in gear. Like outside of a handful of guys.
No question.
20 of the 26 guys on the roster are 4A guys. So if we don't get our shit going, then we're going to be sent down to Louisville or DFA and someone else is going to take our spot. So the time, I don't care about the whole 1 week left in the season. It saved him having to go out to play 5 games on the road to fly home and then get your ass canned. And besides saving money,
what's 5 games from there?
Well, it would have been kind of cruel.
Freddie Benavides got a chance to say he was
and he'll always have that 1 week.
One game,
he'll always have that
3 runs or no, they scored a couple runs in the first game, but like to me, it would have been cruel to send him out on the road knowing you're going to fire him as soon as he gets off the plane. So I'm like, I don't care, but if you're going to fire him when it can make a difference for this season. The next year's team isn't going to be better or worse with the manager. You got to fix the guys that are playing on the field.
And that's we'll get to that in a second. So with the Dave Bell being fired, the list of managers who I know who I want, I don't think they're going to get him. Who do you want? Who do you think they're going to get?
Yeah, I mean, the Terry Francona name is the most interesting one to me. I mean, you look at a guy who's accomplished. I'm always a big guy of you can do something in one organization because that organization's great. Mm-hmm. But when you do it in multiple organizations, I think that tells you everything you need to know about how good that dude is. And I don't think there's anybody in the game that has a bad word for him as a manager. I'm sure there's somebody, if you caught him, you got him on a bad day, they probably do. But he checks every box. I mean, literally, as handling players, managing games, handling media. I mean, all the things that you have to check boxes of, he checks every box. 65 years old, was in bad health in Cleveland, but it sounds like the health issues by him. Does that get him re-energized? I mean, you want to have a purpose in life, do something in life. 65 is not old by any stretch. He's still got a lot left in the tank. I'd love to see it.
65 is not that far away from 50, so he's not old at all.
It's not far away from me either. But, I think that's a nice name. But, a couple other names that had popped up. I told you guys, Miguel Cairo's name had popped up. That was an interesting one. And then the Skip Schumacher one, listen,
it feels like it's going to be him.
Yeah, and I don't think it would be awful. He was manager of the year 2 years ago. This past year, that was a bad team. We played a game on my podcast towards the end of this. The Marlins were in town. My podcast partner, Rick Broering, and I played a game. He said, I'm going to name you a Marlins guy in the lineup. Tell me what position he plays. And I got one guy right.
Jesus Sanchez playing left field, I think. He hit the ball about 500 feet.
Yeah. But that'll tell you how bad that team was, right?
Yeah, right. I told you, I said, at first I heard Skip Schumacher. I'm like, I don't really want him. But then I'm like, started thinking about okay, this year you can't take this year. Last year he did really well. But the point is, for me, if the Reds don't do something improve this team, personnel-wise, improve this team on the field, it doesn't matter who their manager is. I mean, I personally, they got to get a fifth starter. Sonny Gray would be nice. They got to get a veteran guy that it's kind of like when Scott Rowland came here. I keep bringing this up.
Certainly, Luke Maley's that guy, but Luke Maley's not an everyday guy.
Right. He's not good at the important thing.
Yeah, they need an everyday guy. I would like a power hitting right fielder, left fielder, something like that. That could be that guy to show these guys how to do it, how to win, what it takes to do that.
I just don't know if that guy is out there. I will say, just though, from a production standpoint, you do have to get something right-handed power bat in the outfield, something.
Yeah. Do you keep Jonathan India?
I probably do. There's value there. I do think he's respected in the clubhouse. He's, listen, he had moments this year where I thought he kind of reverted back to his good form, and that didn't last as long as I would have liked.
He had one really good month, and the other months, outside of June, the rest of the season,
but he showed some durability, and a lot of these guys
played a lot better defense.
Yeah, he did play a little bit better defense.
What are you giving him credit?
I don't hate the guy. I just I think it's a matter of what are your resources and how are you?
Right.
I'm not saying he's a great second baseman at all. I'm just giving
Should
you credit.
he hit leadoff and play every day on a good team? The answer is no.
Right.
Is he a nice part to have, in my opinion? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in your opinion, who's in the infield? Because Marty Brennan came out and said that he thinks Ellie should be in center field.
That's terrible.
We've had I agree with him. I think you put him in center. But
I think, believe it or not, I think eventually that's where his career path will go. But if you're going to do that, you better have the answer at shortstop ready, and that should be Edwin Arroyo.
Should be
if he had not gotten hurt. If he had not gotten hurt,
would have been if he got hurt.
So in 2026, I'm not opposed to that.
I would be happy for Ellie to play third because there's a question.
I thought he was. I'll be honest with you, Joe. It's a great point. I thought he was great at third because it's such a reactionary position that's all you do is react.
And I mean, he's got cat-like reflexes.
No question.
And here's the thing: everyone, because O'Neal Cruz moved to shortstop. O'Neal Cruz was a bad defensive shortstop.
No doubt.
Ellie De La Cruz is a fantastic. You look at the errors, and the errors are bad. The numbers look bad. David Concepcion's rookie season, he was 22 years old, 22 errors in 93 games.
Joe, look him up in another year, actually a playoff year. I believe he committed 34 errors in one of their playoff years.
Okay,
Davey.
But your point, I missed that. I was looking at his first year.
But your point, I was literally going to bring Davey up. Yeah.
Same age, 22 years old. Barry Larkin in 1988, his age 24 season. Had 29 errors in 140 games. Ellie played 116 and had 29 errors. The amount of balls that he gets to and plays that he makes because he's got the range and he's got the and he's got the arm and he's got the speed. You can't just fill that. You play him until he can't play. And maybe when he gets more mature, he gets bigger and loses some of the flexibility and you move him to the corner or you move him to the outfield. But right now, shortstop is too important of a position. And TJ Friedl plays a solid. He's not great, but his numbers are really good.
He played hurt. Even when
right,
he played,
right,
he played
exactly.
He
like TJ
plays.
Friedl. I mean, hell, Stuart Fairchild's numbers like him for now.
If Stuart could hit like he could play defense, he'd be a hell of a player.
Right, but
sure he's a ninth inning guy.
I think you leave Ellie there until he gives you a reason not to.
No, that goes back to
a premier position.
If you're going to make that move, and I do think it will eventually happen, I really do. You better have the ready-made replacement. That's what the bottom line comes down to. And they don't at the moment.
I don't think it's happening next year because they don't have that guy.
Right.
Edwin Roy, you can say what you want. I think he's eventually going to be or slotted to be.
Maybe he doesn't come back from the injury the way you want. I mean, there's all those things.
It's not going to be next year.
Right. No.
And Matt McLean, I think, is a better second baseman.
But he had great numbers at shortstop too, for that matter.
Yeah.
But he's coming off injury, so you don't want to have him permanently moved to a position. Like I know this is not throwing arm, but I mean, you need to make sure that he's solidified that his rookie year wasn't just a blip. Make sure that he's a legitimate player before you're replacing.
Yeah, and in Matt McLean's case, I you know what I need to see? I need to see him play again.
Yeah,
exactly. I need to see him play again.
At least, and he and CES are both playing in the Arizona Fall League, which is good to see. Let those guys get some at bats, work on their timing, so they're coming in spring training close to the same spot. The players that have played all season.
I hold my breath a little bit that when in the Arizona Fall League and 2 at bats in, you read a story of Matt McLean's down again. I hope that's not the case because I think the kid's a great player.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Great player, and everything you want out of a guy: power, gap power, speed, defense.
Defense,
everything. You can hit him. Honestly,
I think he's your team. If he solidifies himself as a regular, as he can be, should be, and he showed last year when he was healthy. I think he becomes one of the leaders. He's got that. He's got a fiery attitude. Yep. Like he's got the leadership. Like he seems like the guy that just takes control.
You can talk about this. I think actually all three of us talked about last year on my show. I think last year when McLean got hurt, that's when we dropped.
I think so too.
Off. I think it had something to do with it. Losing that leadership.
Well, and also losing your to that point best player.
Yes.
On the field.
Yeah. Right. But I do think it was more of the leadership. Not more, but that had a factor to do with it.
There very well might be.
Yeah. You got really loud all of a sudden.
I know.
So, all right. First base, we got France. We got CES.
I don't think France comes back. I just don't. I mean, if you believe in CES, where does Ty France play?
They'll probably
get Jamer.
Yeah.
But you're under I just don't. I think Ty did some nice things. Yeah. I don't see him as a. I think. To your point about India, I think they're going to get India some reps at first base too. Yeah. That's kind of your fallback day off plan. I just don't see a role for. I just don't see a role.
Ty France was Mike Ford, who had a heater, who went on a little bit of a heater. I mean, and
he's in better shape though.
Well, round is the shape.
I think Mike Ford. What are you trying to say? I think Mike Ford's playing in a round robin out at Rumpke on Saturday afternoon, if I'm not mistaken.
Mike Ford is the shape of a Ford Festiva.
Yes.
Well, you've been on over an hour. You got to get going. Or you got time?
I got a little bit more.
Okay,
a few more minutes. Cool. When I get a refill here, we'll keep.
Yeah,
going.
we'll get you. We need we need to get
bartender Joe Boo needs a refill.
Yeah, we need to get Skinny a refill here if you don't mind. All right. So with the infield, Marte, he was had a very disappointing season.
Yes,
I think the 50 games really hurt him.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
I think 80 games.
Yeah, 80. It was half the season.
Yeah, I think he's closer to what he was his rookie year than he is what he was this year. How close? I don't know because it was a big drop off, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not so sure his future's not in the outfield. He had such a case
he played great third base, but not this year.
He did.
Last year he did, but not this year.
And he can shake it off at a young age, but it felt like watch him how many times he pats the glove. He's really afraid to let it go.
Yeah.
And again, maybe he just wasn't comfortable. He wasn't right. He never got right. He never had a real spring training. All the things that you like the guy to have, he didn't have. And so I'm going to take it as a one-off for now. But the leash to me would be short in spring training.
Yeah.
If the defensive stuff is an issue, I'd have to say, Bub, I got to move you. This is not working. Yeah. And maybe that's the case. I do think he'll eventually hit. He hit a little bit as the year went along. I just watching him the year before. He looked like a natural at the plate. He just looked like a sink.
Yeah,
right. And I just think I'll take it as a one-off due to the suspension.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm right on that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It is what it is.
Yeah. That's where we're all at because he looked so good. I mean, he ended the season
great.
He looked like Manny Machado.
Yeah.
like
Yes.
the same ability at third base. And I don't. That was always a lot of the question. I mean, they knew he wasn't going to stay at shortstop because his body was a bigger body, and then moving to third, and then thinking that maybe he'd be first base or corner outfield because he's stocky, or shall we say, he still has pretty good foot speed. I don't know what his numbers look like last year or this year, but last year his numbers, like for a StatCast, like his sprint speed was 90th percentile, if not higher. I would assume they're probably down, but yeah, he wasn't ready to go right in the major league lineup, and he had
Not even close.
10 days in AAA,
And he was awful.
Yeah, and then immediately as soon as this game 81,
it wasn't like he raked down in AAA like, hey, he's ready. No, it would almost would have been like, no,
we need a body.
We need to leave him sit down there to get him. And I think to some degree, honestly, they did him a disservice by bringing him up when he wasn't ready. I get it. You thought, hey, we're close enough to making a playoff push. He might put us in a good direction. It didn't even come close. And I think, again, sometimes you got to look at the player and go, let's do right by the player, even if it hurts us in the short term with the team.
Yeah. So it was never about 2024 anyway.
No. It turned out clearly no.
So what I can tell you the series that pretty much ended the season for me. What I got really excited. We went to New York, swept the Yankees. I'm like, holy crap, we can do that. We might be back in this. Now, I know Detroit's in the playoffs now. At the time,
I was there for the Friday night Detroit game with in-laws that are Detroit fans, and I said, what are you guys celebrating? You won tonight, and the team's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Oops.
That's what I thought. I'm like, we were going to sweep by the freaking Detroit Tigers, but we did. That ended it.
I'm with you.
I'm like, dude, we can't beat them. And say what you want. I mean, I know they made the playoffs. They're playing, and we're not. But I thought they were ass.
Yeah, no, they honestly look at some of their offensive numbers. I don't think they had anybody hit over 25 homers. I don't think they had anybody have 70 RBI. Now Tarek Skubal is a dude.
He's
a dude.
He's amazing.
He's a dude, and he pitched like a dude today.
Young.
Yeah, that part's fine.
Yeah.
But that Friday night in the series, do you know a play that reared its ugly head?
Which one?
The contact play. Reared its ugly head in that game.
You're right. God, I forgot about that.
Yes. But it's funny you say that. That was kind of the series for me. Like this was the one you needed to win at least 2 out of 3.
At least
you got
swept.
They would keep creeping within I think it was 2 games of 500, and then immediately get swept. And they'd play kind of 500 ball. They'd sweep, and they played really well against some of the better teams in baseball.
It's
insane. Right, the Dodgers they played really well. Swept the Yankees. They got absolutely. I was down at the Sunday game when they played Baltimore. Baltimore just absolutely took them behind the woodshed all 3 games. But like some of the better teams in the league, like they played well against. Outside of Milwaukee.
Well, we don't want to. What is it with Milwaukee? What do they have a jinx on us? What? Why the hell can't we beat them?
I mean, they're better run, but I mean, there's still like that kind of domination.
Yeah,
that kind of domination.
Talent-wise, they're not that much. You would think they're not.
They're not, but I think they have a plan for what their roster should look like.
Yeah.
I think they understand when it's maybe time to cut bait with a guy like. Couldn't beat with Corbin Burns. In theory, isn't very smart.
Right.
And he's obviously pitching great in Baltimore. But I think they thought, listen, we're not going to pay this guy because we need to pay other guys, and we've got enough in our system.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong. They build their bullpen strong.
Yep.
They have arms. They have serviceable bats. Christian Yelich was once a dude, and he has dude moments, but, he's not there.
He's a solid regular
yes.
now.
Yeah. But they have a lot of those guys.
Yeah, and they've got so many young guys that played well and still projection.
Yes.
Jackson Torrio, Sal Frelick is limited at some point, but they've got so many guys that, and then Frankie Montas.
Yeah.
But I think that shows, whatever it is, there's an organizational plan there.
Right.
These are the players
exactly
that we think fit our mold. I don't know what that mold would be for them. It's, you remember the Jim Bode mold was 5-tool and then high school arm guy. That's fine. He had a plan. It wasn't the right plan, but at least that was his mold.
Willie Mopena. Chris
Oh, the pitcher, Chris Grueller. Chris Grueller.
I'll say about Brandon. The third baseman.
Brandon Lawson. No, Brandon Larson.
Yeah, Brandon Larson.
He
was a college player.
Great, unbelievable AAA player. Sucked in the majors.
That's where I'll give Jim this. Jim had a plan. It wasn't a very good plan.
But at least it's not just every 2 years erasing the chalkboard.
Now,
Which
is
what they're doing now.
I do think they have a plan of what their pitcher should look like. Hunter Green breaks the mold because he was a high school guy, but his arm is so electric you have to take that.
Right, that's the guy.
But look at some of the Ladola was a college guy. The injuries I got.
Red
Lauder's
Lauder,
a college guy.
Chase Burns.
Burns is a college guy.
There's Ty Floyd, the guy that got
Yep.
he was Wake last year?
I think Burns was Wake last
Right.
year.
I'm trying to think where Floyd came, or was he LSU?
Well, they just drafted a Wake pitcher this year.
Yeah,
Right,
that's Burns.
Chase
That's
Burns.
Burns. That's
Yeah.
I'm
Burns.
trying to think. Ty Floyd was the second rounder, and I can't remember what college he went to. It's either Wake or LSU or something.
And so I think they have a plan. I don't know what their mold for position
LSU.
player guy is. I just don't.
What's their plan in general? That's the thing for me. It's like all right, we're just going back to Dave Bell. All right, you did great. Good job, David. We're going to sign you to your contract. Next year, you're fired.
Right.
What is their plan?
I don't know. I honestly
and
don't. I think it's piecemeal it and
Right.
and hope. And
Yeah.
listen. I do think Nick Kroll did a good job making trades to restock. But then after
think he did
restocking,
right,
what's
but-
left? What's left?
Right.
Right?
But did he make good trades? The Molly trade, yeah, because you got
Because you got
Spencer
Petty.
Steer.
Oh, you got Steer, right.
CES,
The jury's out, but I
I think
Right,
dude,
and jury's
But I
out.
would tell you this: if it was,
Outside
I would say this, Joe. Even if Spencer Steer was the best you got out, the only thing you got out of that Tyler Malley trade, I
Right.
still think it worked out in your favor.
Well, right. Tyler Malley pitched a couple weeks or a couple months, and then had Tommy John.
Yeah.
The trades with Seattle, they got Marte and they got Arroyo, but what are those guys?
Fair point.
We're a year and a half, in, 2.5 years
still,
in, and there's
the book's still out on
right,
on
and
that.
that's the problem.
It could be.
If you're going to purposely make
Now,
your team
hold on,
worse,
is that
in
a
short
Kroll
term-
problem or is that a player problem?
If they hadn't made those trades right now, though,
Yeah, 'cause they weren't going to pay him. They weren't
Yeah,
going to
but
pay him.
no. But the point is, look at their minor league system as it
Yeah.
is right now.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you hadn't done just that to restock, you are, and that to me, that speaks volumes. And
Yeah.
you haven't drafted well enough position player wise.
right.
Again, I think they have a plan. It seems
Pitching,
they
they're
like
doing
that
good
college
drafting.
that college
Right.
pitcher.
Yeah.
And again, Hunter Green's a unicorn, so you
Right.
have to take
Right.
that guy. I get all that.
And I'll give him a pass for Austin Hedrick.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yes.
I mean, you're drafting the cold weather guy first round in a year that there's no in-person scouting. That's
Yes, I think that was
probably a
very
dumb
hard.
idea,
No,
but
agreed.
COVID year was weird, and the fact that he's an absolute fan with as many times as he whiffs, like
It's brutal.
Yeah,
It's
he
brutal.
he barely made it out of A-ball.
I mean, that Chattanooga team, go look at some of those guys and their numbers and how bad that team is horrifying.
they were
and that's supposed
30
to be
and
the
80
pipeline.
at one point.
Yeah,
I don't know what they
one
ended
point.
up.
They-
Really?
they-
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
They fought back to
They
better,
guys got
but
promoted.
not
And
by
guys,
much.
Dayton,
Yeah.
guys that performed in Dayton finally came up. But yeah, they were terrible.
So with this offseason and with what the Reds have done the last couple of years, I'll be honest, I'm not confident. How confident are you that they will have a plan, have the right plan, and stick with it?
I'm not, but at the same time, I could also look and go, CES has a chance to be really good. Matt McLean has a chance when healthy to be really good. Ellie's going to continue to ascend, in my opinion. And whatever that becomes, God knows what that could become
Yeah.
in a great way.
Unbelievable.
I'm taking Marte as a one-off. And again, all these you can certainly flip the script on me and go, well, CES hasn't done anything to this point. Matt McLean isn't healthy at this point. Nolan Marte, maybe it wasn't a one-off.
Right.
So I'm giving you my reasons for it, but everybody can give me the flip side to literally everything I can say. Friedel played hurt. I mean, it's so funny to watch. If you project his numbers over what he played, he's a 100 RBI guy, believe it or
30 home
not,
runs.
which is
Yeah.
insane to think
Yeah.
about.
A ton of production for the. I mean, he didn't do as much like the
The
smaller
bunting,
stuff,
Well,
but
I
yeah.
think some of that was injury related, that
Yeah.
he just couldn't run.
If he does play, I think he's a shot for a Gold Glove. The way he played,
But he
if he
plays-
played,
But he plays
healthy.
recklessly,
Yeah.
so you're always holding your breath about the
Right.
injury part of it.
Right.
You know, the Fraley one, I've always thought Jake was a fourth or fifth outfielder
Yeah.
anyway. He was obviously dealing with a ton of personal stuff with his daughter, so you have to take some of that.
It's amazing that he
Interesting.
performed as well
It
as
really
he did.
is.
Dealing
Yes.
with
It really is.
I couldn't imagine like something happened with one of my kids and
No
trying to
question.
go out and play such a high stress game as baseball. Guys throwing 99 miles an hour and pitch that moves, 34 inches of induced vertical.
No
like,
question.
How are you supposed to do anything? And he still performed admirably. I mean, his had zero power,
Right.
But I mean, he got on base a lot and played pretty well. So I mean,
And then Steer, the average bothers me a little bit, and the home run production went down a little bit. But I also think when you look at that lineup, when you get to the middle of it, who am I pitching around?
no protection.
Right.
Yeah, who am I pitching around?
that's where CES is huge.
Yeah.
That's where losing him was, I think, bigger than people give it credit for. He
Dude,
was going to be.
I was in love with that guy, and I still am.
I still am. Yeah.
He hit it every level, college.
And hits so hard.
Yes.
It's not even just
Yes.
hitting wall scrapers. I mean,
Yes.
these are 110 miles an hour, 110 miles an hour, and just hitting bombs.
And
And,
Not just but for average. I mean, everything you want, driving in runs at a high rate, all those things. And he did that when he came up here the year before. So again, I'm looking and going, well, he played through an injury and and shouldn't have, but he did. And
Right.
so I'm going to take that for that.
Yeah.
But again, I can give everybody the flip side of, no, he had a sophomore slump, and that first year he came up was a blip because everybody has their blip.
He had exploitable weaknesses. I mean, he swings
Yeah.
at everything.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's
And
some players never make the adjustment.
And the thing is, just think if they get a right-handed power bat behind him, you could have LECS and whoever that is.
Tyler
2, 3,
Stevenson was
4.
one of the 5 best catchers in baseball this past year,
But you
including
know what?
hitting.
But you know what? And he hit third in a lineup. In a good lineup, he hits eighth. He
Yeah.
still hits eighth. But you're right. But I'm fine with that. You give me an eighth hitting Tyler
Right.
Stevenson with these numbers, sign me up for that.
Absolutely.
I think Tyler Steve not only got better with the hitting, but also defense.
Yeah, no, I thought he was
his
great.
framing of pitching
He got really good.
so much better from one year to the next.
Yep.
Because that's all I heard about it. I kept saying, take him out of first base. Quit, because I think that messed with him more than anything else.
I think he did too. I'm not sure what. I
So-
get
so
him trying to
guys-
keep his bat in the lineup, but that just seemed like
His
the
bat
pain from the
isn't
start.
good enough to carry
Yes,
him
no
at
doubt,
first base.
absolutely.
It was better this year
Right.
to do
Getting
it.
solid
Yes.
defensive production
Yes.
and 112 OPS plus. I think a lot of it having Luke Maley there, because Ty's a huge catcher. He's 6'4".
Yes,
Maley's a big catcher and a
Yes.
good framer. Kurt Casale was another 6'3", 6'4" guy. Having those guys to kind of help and lean on and just give you tricks to how to quit losing strikes. I mean, any low pitch the past couple of years, he'd lose his pitcher's strike because he'd have to drop his glove so much. And something that's borderline, he's dropping it down to their
and
ankle.
Luke's really good at that. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Luke's really good, and it's so funny. I covered him a bit in high school when he was at Covenant Catholic, and I mean that dude at the plate. And listen, high school never translates to the majors; it just doesn't. But my God, you couldn't get him out. You just couldn't get him out.
Yeah.
They got to the point where teams were walking him intentionally, and their head coach turned him from middle line guy and started batting him leadoff just so he could get some swings. That's how good he was. He was ridiculously good. And to his credit, he's carved out a nice career. He's going to be. Honestly, I think he's going to be a manager somewhere one day and be a damn good one.
They were floating the thing.
You heard it here first.
I know.
Richard Skinner is saying Tyler Maley's going to be the Reds manager.
I don't know. Tyler Maley's still injured on the
Luke
Rangers. You mean
Luke Maley. Sorry, Luke Maley. Sorry. I said the wrong name.
Or Dave Miley. You've got Dave Miley.
Yeah, you got Miley. Maley's.
It was a joke, and I completely screwed it up. All right. Totally
Mike Scott is the safety for the Carolina Panthers.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Mike's,
And Nick Scott was a hell of a pitcher back in the 80s.
He cheated. He scuffed the ball.
I got that stuck in my brain. I kept calling Nick Scott Mike Scott last year. It was stuck.
He
That's
probably would have been a better pitcher than a safety.
So my friend Mo Egger doing this show today, we all have a flub every once in a while. And he was talking about Pete and childhood being cut out. And he said, yeah, it kind of, my childhood cut out for me too when Tom Brenneman died. And he meant Tom Browning. That's who he meant. But like, Tom Brenneman died?
When did Tom Brenneman die?
His career died.
That was
he didn't die.
Yeah. Nick Castellanos with a long drive.
Yes, exactly.
Fly ball
Right.
left field.
Oh, goodness. All right, let's wrap this up here with some Bearcat talk here real quick. I was impressed with the way they played. With the Kiner out. I can't. There was
Everybody out.
Everybody.
There was,
He
Chance
lost.
Williams and
They were down to
Evan Pryor.
And then Covey got hurt too.
Yeah.
That's right. He did get hurt at the end. Yeah.
They lost so many people.
They were down 2 wide receivers,
Yes.
wide receivers coming in the game.
And to still be in that game in Texas Tech within a field goal or a targeting call, however you want to put it,
Oh, man.
away from tying the game up. I had people on Twitter going, "Oh, the coach lost." And I'm not the biggest Satterfield fan. How the hell did he lose that game? You got to be kidding.
I'm still trying to get the explanation, understanding. I tried to call an official friend of mine today, and I didn't get a hold of him. I didn't think it was targeting, but
It's elite.
The problem is they threw the flag for targeting, not a late
point,
hit.
it was a late hit.
Yes.
To your point. All right, so, but even at that point, I still don't understand the 10-second runoff. Why wouldn't that have been a start on my whistle? That should have been a start on my whistle.
That's the
literally what I was yelling at.
It's the rule for it, and someone quoted the actual rule. If there's a flag that gets picked up and it's a running clock under 2 minutes,
That's it. And that
it's
rule,
dumb. Yeah,
that
it's-
rule should be changed
absolutely.
because if you're in a hurry up offense,
that costs them time because there's
you're
several
not
seconds.
using up 10 seconds to
No.
get back in your next.
Right.
Well, you might use up 4 or 5.
Right,
That's why I go back
and
to
that's
on
offense-
my whistle should be the
Offense
call.
did nothing wrong, and they cost several seconds before
Yes.
they even threw the flag.
10 seconds
They
gets you that much closer to a field goal.
It probably cost them 10 seconds if they would have just let it run through in terms of them running to the line.
Right.
And
Which is enough for another 8-yard gain to get you closer, right?
Exactly. I mean, you could have taken another shot for the end zone for that matter. Brennan Sorsby looks like he's got the best arm talent that the Bearcats have had since Gunnar Keel, I think. In my some of the throws he made, like dropped one in the bucket, like in the corner of the end zone. Some of the throws across the middle. Yeah, the interception was ill-advised. A guy in his face, and you you eat the sack
Just
at that
eat
point.
it would have been a lot better.
And take the loss. But the offense, it's legit. I know the defense is going to be. I feel like we just talked about this story an hour ago, talking about the Bengals.
right. Kind of same thing.
Has your perspective, projection of the team changed from where they were before the season started?
Yeah,
I thought 6-6 was ideal. I'm thinking maybe 7 if I get one game.
I thought 7-5, and I'm still thinking 7-5, but I thought they would have a chance to beat Colorado, and I just don't think that now. I don't.
Colorado looks good.
Yeah, they absolutely housed.
Yeah,
They
Colorado has
got
some
a Heisman
issues,
Trophy player on their team.
but the way this defense has given up big plays and chunk plays, my Lord Almighty, watching Travis Hunter run through that secondary would scare the daylights out of me.
Yeah.
The West Virginia game is kind of a toss. You've got a bunch of toss-up games down there. I mean, like
the Big 12 is, I don't want to say mediocre because I hate something, but there's no
even
there's no great team. I mean, Utah looks good, but I mean, they struggled a little.
I think Utah was till Cam Rising got hurt.
Yeah, exactly. So now you're going to have a bunch of teams that are going to be 10, 9, 8 wins, and 7-5, and they can even be in the conversation.
It's funny. I thought 7-5. I thought at this point 4-1 would have been perfect. The Pitt game was they got away from them.
And Pitt's better than we thought too.
But you start going through the whole rest of the schedule, and you're like, that's a 50-50 game. That's probably a win. That's a 50-50 game. There's so many of the 50-50, and then probably the Iowa State on the road and Kansas State at the end of the year are probably not 50-50 games. So you better get some stuff done then. I'd be disappointed if it's not at least 6-6.
Yeah, I said at the beginning of the year, I think it's those 6-6 bowl eligible. They should be.
Yes,
they should be. They're talented enough team, even with the way the defense is. They should be.
Win your home games, and I think you'll make it.
Yeah, and even though again the schedule down the stretch is hard, they play the toughest games on the road at the end of the season. Even if it doesn't look this way on the win-loss record, I think if you're playing better ball at the end of the season, I think that saves Scott Satterfield's job.
Yes,
because I honestly think if they come out and kind of shit the bed, play flat, and they struggle down the stretch 5-7, I think there's a good chance that he's gone.
It snowballed last year like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It kind of culminated in that Oklahoma State game on the road where it looked like, honestly, they just quit.
Tight game at the half, and then, of course, all those guys that quit are now playing at direction of Florida. But,
yes.
Right. One thing I say, this game, I think there was a chance where it was going to turn in that direction and go downhill, and it didn't.
Right.
That and to me, that bodes well for the way this team is built, the way they believe in Satterfield. Yeah, you have leaders. You have leaders. You have something where hopefully that won't happen this year. That because it could have snowballed because they could have lost.
Yeah, this is clearly a better team than last year. But my fear would be you've won 2 Big 12 games now in 2 years against the same team.
Right.
Houston.
Houston hasn't scored a point in Big 12 play. They're 2
and so it felt good with the shutout, right? And I thought they played really well. I mean, you yank your quarterback for the last quarter. UC did. Yeah. They could have named their number, whatever the number they wanted to be. The defensive performance, they came up with a couple of turnovers at the key times that kept them out of the end zone. But I thought they played well. And again, you turn around and go to Texas Tech, but also Texas Tech puts up 44 on you. So is this defense one that's still going to get gashed and you're going to have to score 40-plus points and win shootouts? That's hard to win shootouts, man. It's just hard.
You are expecting Dante Corleone to take over games. And he played amazing. Like, I don't know, his stat sheet didn't show his impact, but I don't know how many times I saw him being double-teamed and walking 2 offensive linemen into the quarterback's lap.
Yes.
The fact that he's that strong, I would love to see him playing.
We want playing over there.
You're asking him, though, in that 3-3-5.
Which does not fit the person.
To face that
3-3-5.
To face that every down, every game.
Yeah, he's going to get
against
worn
Big
out.
12 competition.
Yeah.
It's not SEC offensive linemen. It's still Big 12.
Still
there's
still
plenty.
major,
there's plenty of guys that play on
playing
Sunday.
the NFL. Absolutely.
Yep.
That's a big ask, man.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, his conditioning, because of the health scare that he had, obviously his conditioning isn't where it would be after 5 weeks in the regular season. Like, you don't want to put, I mean, defensive linemen are kind of on pitch counts anyway, but he's the only impact player that they had. Now, I like, and I'm totally spacing on Wilson. I mean, his pressure rate has been, and I didn't see what it was after Texas game. He's been making a lot of good plays on the outside, but they don't really have. I mean, I like Derek Canteen. He's a leader, but is he truly a playmaker in the secondary? The guys are, passes are getting completed on everybody.
And I will say, it feels like they get dictated to more than they dictate. I mean, you've got the 3-3-5 has its place. Elders had good
if you have the personnel.
Elders had good success with the 3-3-5 over the years. They really have. Elders had great success with that.
West Side.
But
Joe Royer.
But if you're going to do it, you probably have to blitz a little bit more and mix up your blitz stuff because you've got 8 guys on the back end that you trust to float back in and out, right? So you maybe have to do that and just go, hey, instead of getting beat by big plays when we just drop and play coverage or they run it because we dropped and play coverage, let's dictate to them. And, we'll give up a big play here and there because we're already giving up big plays.
Make them make a play.
Make them make a play.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you can't beat them on a man-for-man basis, then make them make a play. Either scheme up some crazy, stuff just to confuse them or, make them get out of the ball, get the ball out of their hands fast. And they haven't done any of that. So
well, I'll put this on. One thing that made me feel a little better about Satterfield is the transfer portal and the talent he brought in from last year to this year. Sorsby, I think, is
light years
years ahead of what we had last year, and potentially he's fringe, got a shot at the league. Fringe. Or he's got another year. At least we'll see how it goes. But that bodes well for because I was worried about because Luke Fickle put a rope around the tri-state area and
owned it.
Yeah, and
owned it.
Satterfield hasn't done that yet. That's my concern. That's what happened to Tuber. That's what happened to Tommy Tuberville.
Right. And I don't like that. Though is with having Kerry Combs on your staff, that shocks me that they haven't done that.
Yeah.
Right, shocks me.
That's the point of getting him back. It's not because of how great his defensive backfields are for the Bearcats.
So that's one thing I'm hoping he changes because I mean Brian Kelly did that. When we had our 2 best teams was Brian Kelly and Luke, and they put a rope around the tri-state area. And
Brian Kelly's teams were Mark D'Antonio's players. Brian Kelly quit recruiting before the 2009 season, knowing that he was he was out the door.
My point is the recruiting guys are from here. The recruiting area here is so rich.
You have to recruit this.
Well,
not even that. Since UC isn't Ohio State, you need locals to be engaged. And they've done a great job. And the student section is so much light years from where it was even 20 years ago. But you need to keep the local players in. That's why I'm surprised that Evan Prater's even still with the program. Like he's totally become an afterthought. But because you need those families and you need people to support to support the program.
You can't have Kentucky come in and poach Alex Safari. Right. You can't have Kentucky come in and poach Josh Caddis.
Yes. Kentucky's the one that kills me.
Yeah, no, they've done a great job even up into other parts of Ohio. Yeah. And then you can't have, and it worked out well, Corey Kiner go to LSU. I get Corey Kiner probably looking
5-star.
Man, I got to go to LSU.
It's LSU.
And then realize, this is probably the best fit. It's worked out great. So it worked out for everybody. Yeah. But you can't have those guys get away from you. Yeah, occasionally there is going to be a guy that gets away from you. Yeah. That's going to just happen. But you can't have the main guys get poached by other programs.
Louisville getting Luke Kandra.
Yeah, you're right.
I get Joe Royer going up to Ohio State, but Luke, what does Louisville have? I mean, their athletic department has been an absolute hot mess.
Yeah,
and they're coming to our backyard and taking GCL kids. If I'm going to lose a GCL kid, have them go to Notre Dame. Fine, Catholic kid going to the Catholic University.
That at least makes sense.
Right.
Louisville, no. Why would you do that?
Right.
That is a concern for me still. That he hasn't recruited locally more than I think he should do because when we've had good teams, that's how you do it.
No question.
Yeah, you got to do that.
I think. It's one thing if this was if this was Grayson, Kentucky, where you're at. I mean, this is a hotbed for football, man.
Yeah. Grayson, Kentucky, home of Jackson Jolson.
There you go. You're right. West Carter, West Carter, East Carter. It's one of the Carters.
I don't remember.
It's one of the Carters.
I know it was. Number 40, I think, Jackson Jones?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's 40. Yeah.
It was one of the Carter. There's a West Carter and East Carter High School down there, so it was one of those two. But yes,
I'm on it. I'll check
that. That was a great get on your part, man.
That's why I keep him around. He's pretty good for stuff like that.
So much use. This is why my wife is happy that I'm here. Even tonight's her anniversary. She's happy that I'm gone because.
We didn't sing to you.
She's
happy anniversary. No. Happy anniversary.
Okay.
That's
Flintstones.
Thank you. Give me some of that. There you go.
He did that, and I've watched so many, so many Flintstones, but I couldn't think of that.
You're not
on. Like, no, I know that's Flintstones.
One of the best episodes.
Thank you. I sang that to him before the show started. I said, that's from? He goes,
Flintstones. Come on, man.
Well, yeah.
I've watched enough of I've watched Flintstones.
It's on Meat TV. Get you some Meat TV.
There you go. All right, Skinny. Well, you've been on for almost 2 hours.
You're good, brother.
I appreciate you. Plug yourself to everybody where they can follow you and find our stuff.
Head to local12.com. We got all kinds of stuff. There's a ton of Pete Rose stuff from all kinds of different angles today. Our reporters really worked it really well. A lot of reaction from former players and former teammates, etc. kind of even looking back at the bad situation, the Pete getting banned, and it's part of the legacy.
You have to.
For sure. And then obviously I got all kinds of Bengals coverage for you. Nothing today. It's an off day today, so it was a good day to kind of chill and take an off day. My Tuesday usually is me putting up the Ohio High School AP poll and the Indiana AP poll, and then I usually call it a day.
There you go.
It's the one day I get off each week.
It was East Carter High School.
East Carter. There we go. See, it was one of the Carters. I knew the Carters.
You were there. You were there.
Your knowledge of the high school system
It's sad.
coal country Kentucky.
He loves high school
It's
sports.
sad.
Yeah.
I do love high school sports.
You do.
Yes.
Well,
Thanks for
Jay,
having me, guys.
I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it.
We'll
Thanks,
have to get you on again sometime. Give it up for Richard Skinner. Woo! All right. So, are you ready to get the heck out of here? I mean, we've got a raucous crowd here. I mean, I honestly can't believe how many people showed up.
Your wife even left. That's how excited it is.
What? Where'd she go? Get back.
She left your daughter. I mean, that's
bad.
That's irresponsible.
That's very bad.
That's
Well,
irresponsible.
at least my dad, my daughter are here. CC, thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
So yeah. Anyway, you got any thoughts you want to put out there about this week's game before we get out of here? There it is.
Don't get. Derrick Henry has been looking forward to this game since he signed with
He's been looking forward to this game
Ravens.
since 2022 or 2021 when we shut him down in the playoffs.
I think he looked at the rosters with all the opportunities afforded in front of him in the offseason, looked at the rosters and said, I get to face that Bengals defensive line twice, maybe a third time in the playoffs. Let me sign on this dotted line. I'll put it this way. If the Bengals can hold him 115 yards or less, I think Bengals come out of the win.
Yeah.
Because that means they're not – he's going to have a big –
He's going to get his yards. He's going to.
I don't understand how someone who's 6'3", 240 pounds runs that goddamn fast.
Yeah.
It's horrifying. He's bigger than linebackers. And
he's a refrigerator on wheels.
Yeah, it's horrifying. I can't imagine seeing that guy coming through the hole
Yeah.
and then trying to break down and wrap. And unless you're 120-pound Mike Hilton, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Again, I think if the Bengals can keep him from totally taking control of the game so that they can hold the ball for 35, 40 minutes and have a huge time advantage, defensive line gets absolutely run down and the Bengals are forced to score a touchdown on every possession on offense. If they can keep that from happening, I think the Bengals have a chance. I think the Bengals win.
I'm with you on that. I mean, you got to slow down Henry. They've
done it before. It's not.
They've done it before, yeah. But we had DJ Reader then.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, if we get PJ Hill back, if we get McKinley Jackson, I keep putting his name out there. I don't know if he's going to make a difference or not, but it's a body.
It's a big body that
big
can
body.
at least absorb a block.
Yes, that's
he might not. He won't be able to eat the double teams like DJ Reader.
Right.
He eats a lot of shit by the size of his waistline.
He's
So
huge.
Just
is that a technical term? He actually does eat shit.
well, I mean, you've got. I mean, Frank Pollock talks about guys that have shit in their neck. So they had to eat it, and maybe it got stuck. I don't know. What a weird ass term. That makes no sense.
And then you got Miles Murphy, who comes back most likely. If we get him to at least get pressure along with Trey,
just provide
something.
A dozen, 20 snaps on the edge.
Well, and the thing is, I think they attack Lamar like they attack Patrick Mahomes. You got to keep him contained.
You have to spy him because of his running ability.
Yeah.
I mean, Logan Wilson is he's not going to be blitzing. He's not going to be coverage. He's going to be spying him the entire game.
So
that's more of the game plan. Like I said, offensively, I'm not scared. I'll say I'm worried about the game in general. Offensively, I think we can score on them. It's just how many times can the Bengals stop them on Sunday? We'll find out.
Bearcats aren't stopping the Ravens.
Yeah, the Bearcats aren't stopping anybody at all. Anyway, guys, it's been fun. You guys need to come down here to Moerlein Lager House. It's a great time. I mean, the place it's not packed. Should have been down here. The happy hour goes until 9 o'clock. Do me a favor, between now and next Tuesday, get out to Midwest Best Barbecue. Get you some CTB wings, some Uno wings, and no, they're not burnt. They're
CTB
delicious.
wings are burnt. They are fried. They are crispy. They are Cajun style right now.
They are delicious. Get you some Dillinator wings. Tell Tim and Nicole I sent you. And tell them that this guy right here needs to actually show up there sometimes. He claims to own Tim, but, that hasn't happened. We'll see. Anyway, the show is also brought to you by Meyer Windows and Doors. Check them out at www.myerscincinnati.com for all your window and door needs. And my West Side peeps, if you're not at Moerlein House, check out Hail Mary's. It's your ticket to the game right in the heart of Cheviot. Free parking, beer specials, food trucks, big-ass TV screen. It's an awesome, awesome little place in Cheviot. Make sure you check it out. It's Hail Mary's, your ticket to the game. And this Sunday, come to, again, the Moerlein Lager House for the Mercedes-Benz of Fort Mitchell at Moerlein Lager House. A pregame experience where we start 3 hours before the game. I'll be doing my podcast. Then we have a DJ. We'll have some giveaways. And then make sure after the game you join me and this guy right here. We're doing our post-game show. And hopefully we'll be happy because we're going to win, right?
Sure.
All right. He's very confident.
2-3 is a hell of a lot better than 1-4.
I agree with that. I completely agree with that. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. And
have a good night, guys.
That's just sports, baby. See ya!
They still gotta play us. Let's go, baby. Woo!
Hey, don't run that ball on the one Hubbard, showed you how that go down. Feeling like Santino, tell him we want all the smoke now. We ain't snooping that commercial, we don't put no smoke down. Plus we back and you can't hide, so it ain't nowhere safe to go now. We always gon' turn up in that jungle every time. How we ain't gon' win when we loaded in with 9? Plus T just came in signed, so the city gon' be fine. Jamar say he open every time and he ain't never lied. Look at how we win at it, the size of the old line. Giving Burrow extra time should be a federal crime. Hey, we right back on that path again. Put the division back to the test, they won't pass again. Orlando and Trent Brown, that's the Tower Twins. Feel like we only getting better as we stacking wins. Jaceki in for 6, that's a gritty again. AFC North battles getting gritty again. It's Yoshi second year, we just brought Burton in. Vaughn back to ring some bells, get the cracking again.